And just like that, we are back in business. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the greatest show in the world, times infinity. You guys ready to have some fun? I hope so. My watch page should be popping on any moment. There it is. And it looks like it's clear tonight. All right, that's good. Starting off with some clear pixelation. So that means it'll slowly get fucked up, probably. All right, you guys ready? You guys ready to have some super awesome fun times tonight? I hope so. I really do, because tonight got a special one for you. That's right. You guys know what we're doing? We're going back to the flat earth well tonight. That's right. So I pulled the hat off of the light in the background, stuck it on my head. I am officially tonight flat earth asshole. Once again, we're going to take it back to the old school. We're going to talk about the flat earth topic. You guys know that I started this channel by talking about the earth not being a globe and space missions being fake. That's how all this shit got started. Yeah, I didn't start the channel talking about football games being rigged and fake. No, that was many years later. So the real hardcore fans, the people who have followed me the longest, they remember flat earth asshole. And tonight, it's going to be like a trip back in time, a little bit of nostalgia vibes. But I have some new revelations. They came to me. Believe it or not, you guys. I don't know about you, but when I take psychedelic mushrooms and I'm in the right place at the right time, magical thoughts and ideas just come to me. And it happened recently. I had some new revelations about the flat earth topic, stuff that I never thought of before. And I'm really excited to share it with you guys tonight. So it's going to be a good time. I hope you guys are ready to have some fun. I'm actually really excited because I have a lot to say, but I don't know how it's going to come out because you guys know this is all unscripted. So I have a feeling me talking about this tonight is going to draw some new shills out of the woodwork, maybe some old shills too, because I'm talking about the flat earth. So whenever I talk about this subject, sometimes there's these shills who will like to invade the comments, the live comment section, and try and control the narrative, slander me and whatnot. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on that tonight, just in case. So without further ado, let's go ahead and kick this party off. I have a bunch of super chats that came in. Some came in before the show, like this one. F-E-A, F-E-A, everybody, F-E-A. F-E-A, your whole family, F-E-A, F-E-A, just the girls, F-E-A, F-E-A, just the boys, F-E-A, F-E-A. Now everybody at once, F-E-A, F-E-A. That's right, the flat earth asshole has returned. Now, I'm not going to go back and change the name of the channel to Flat Earth Asshole. I already done rebranded to try and improve my search results. And it didn't really seem to work that well, but I think maybe I'm available and to be seen by more people since getting rid of the asshole out of the name. But tonight, for one night only, let's just call me Flat Earth Asshole tonight. How about that? All right. RY coming in with a super chat. And I just want to state that tonight I'm going to be talking about some serious shit. All right. I'm going to be talking about a subject that is near and dear to me. And so if I do a silly impression to start the show, I don't want you to think that the whole show is going to be like that, because it's not. In fact, there's going to be some super serious shit that I expect to blow your mind with tonight. I'm hoping that tonight I can get you to have a thought you've never thought before and blow your mind here live tonight, just like my mind got blown the other night when I came up with this shit. So just putting it out there, I'm going to start by doing this silly impression, but this is going to be a serious stream tonight overall. All right. So having said that, let's get silly. Richie from Boston and Roseanne live streaming on their way to Mars and from one of Elon's rocket ships, which has an onboard and on-tap Bible vape juice system. You never cease to amaze me, RY. Very creative. All right, here we go.
So this is very exciting. Right now, Rosie and I are on our way to Mars, building the first ever human colony on Mars. And as you know, ever since Rosie and I have hooked up, we have been like the belle of the ball. They can't get enough of me and Rosie. So we were selected to join the rest of the crew in building the first ever human community on Mars. We're on our way right now. We're on our way there. We're on one of Elon Musk's rocket ship. And as you know, I'm joined by the one and only, my beautiful wife, Roseanne.
Thank you, Richie. Thank you. And yeah, ever since we got married, magical things have been happening. It's like our careers are like fucking resurging and shit. So, right now we're going to like go to Mars, and like it's pretty fucking cool. And the whole time we're vaping these Bible vape juice cartridges, which is keeping nano AIDS from invading our ass, so.
That's right. I would hate to have my ass or Rosie's ass get invaded by Chinese nano drones. And as you know, my organic Bible vape juice cartridges are the only known cure for the Chinese nano AIDS. Now, some of the Chinese nano AIDS, some of the Chinese nanobots, may have snuck their way in to this rocket that we're sitting in. But we have no fear whatsoever because we have an virtually unlimited supply while we're on this rocket of my Bible vape juice system, which was installed specifically to protect us on our way to Mars.
Yeah, and it fucking tastes good too. We're developing new flavors like cherry Coke Bible vape juice. Here's my idea.
She's got wonderful ideas. When she smokes the vape, it just comes to her like magic.
All right, getting carried away. All right, like I said, a little bit of a silly impression to start the show, but it's going to get serious later, I promise. All right. Whew. All right. See if I can fall into a groove here. RY wants another impression. He wants Russian vids. Okay, you want a Russian vids impression. So now I have to pretend to be Russian vids talking shit about me. Great. You know how I love to make fun of myself and pretend that I'm Russian vids.
Jake the Fake says that we all see our own son, which is absolutely ridiculous. He's making a mockery of God's biblical flat earth. He's trying to make the flat earth look stupid. As you all know, the sun does go around in a circle, and I've already proven this in my videos. And as it moves away from you, it shrinks into a dot. Now, you have to go to Africa in the right conditions in order to see the sun shrink into a dot. So I've showed the footage from Africa, which proves Jake the Fake, he's lying. He's making a mockery. God. Now, in order to support my channel, you can buy some of my merchandise, which does include the image and likeness of Rowdy Roddy Piper. And I do sell Rowdy Roddy Piper's face on my t-shirts, but that's only because I don't want to use my own real identity. I'm revealing too much truth. So I use Rowdy Roddy Piper's face and likeness because I'm too much of a pussy to use my own identity.
There you go. There's Rush. That's as good of a Russian vids impression as you're ever going to hear. And he does claim that the sun goes in a circle and it shrinks as it goes away from you. Meanwhile, you've never seen the sun shrink into a dot except for in some videos, but you've never seen that with your own two eyes. But he continues to make that claim to this day. And sadly, there's morons who listen to that guy. Jack Penimble Jack P. Nimble, Jack P. Quick, Jack Suck on my big fat what? Coming in with a super chat with no message attached. Just a Canadian super chat, it looks like, from Jack P. Nimble. Thank you, Jack P. Nimble. You know, if somebody chooses not to include a message, I still appreciate the super chat all the same nonetheless. So whether you want me to do a silly impression, whether you just want to thank me, or whether you just want to say nothing at all, I just want to let you guys know from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it. You guys are the reason we're still here doing this, and your support means everything to me. Speaking of support, we got longtime supporter and moderator here. We got LaFleur, Davey D from the LaFleur Network. He says, time for some Wake 'em Up Wednesday. It is indeed that time again, my friend. So thank you, Davey D, for your multiple super chats, your hundreds of super chats that you've donated over the years you've been watching this channel. I appreciate it, brother. And I plan on doing a good show tonight. So glad you're here to see it. All right. Trout fishing at Hood Park with a very generous donation and no message attached. Interesting. I wonder if that's what they meant to do or if that was an accident. Trout fishing at Hood Park, also a very generous donor, longtime supporter of the channel. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, buddy. You guys are awesome. Got trout fishing at Hood Park with some gifted memberships as well. So if you get a gifted membership, you'll probably get one from Trout Fishing at Hood Park or Big Money Bob. RY says, you missed my very first. No, I just now went back and got it. So the StreamYard is showing some of these super chats out of order. So I read a few of them maybe out of order, but I think I got through all of them. I'll double check and make sure, and then we'll go ahead and kick off the stream officially, and we'll start with the Tom Brady and Logan Paul slap, and then we'll get into the flat Earth shit. How's that? How's that sound, y'all? Got Big Money Bob gifting 5 Jake the Awake memberships and Trout Fishing at Hood Park. So we got 10 gifted Jake the Awake memberships right out of the gate. That's awesome. Replacement Skylights with a donation says, been like 6 months since I caught a live. You know what? Just reading your handle, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this guy. So yeah, man, it's been a while since I've seen you around. Welcome back. It's been a while since I saw Replacement Skylights. Everything I can remember. All right. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Welcome back. We're going to have a good one tonight. We're going to be talking about some new flat Earth revelations. I'm going to put a spin on the hidden land argument that nobody's really talked about before. And I'm going to go deep. So deep, put that ass to sleep. All right. Got another super chat. Very generous from Rex James. He says, yo, can you do Randy Marsh? By the way, man. By the way, you're the man, Jake. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rex James. I said, thank you very much. I added the X to much on accident. Okay. Randy Marsh. Fuck. God, I haven't watched South Park in a long time. Let me try and see if I can channel some Randy Marsh. Shit. I can't quite find it. Hey, Stan. You want to watch your old man play some guitar?
No thanks, Mr. Mash. Real guitar is for old people.
Yeah, but boys, this is real. Dad, we don't want to hear you play old people's guitar. We're trying to play Guitar Hero. But this is real. There you go. So I had to do a little clip from Guitar Queero episode. That was my favorite episode of South Park, was Guitar Queero. In my opinion, that was the best episode that they ever did. And so I remember when Randy played some real guitar for the boys, and they were like, "Dad, go away. We want to play Guitar Hero. We don't want to hear you play old people's guitar." So yeah, there you go. A little throwback to Guitar Queero, the best South Park episode ever, in my opinion. They don't make them like that anymore. All right. RY with 5 more gifted Jake the Awake memberships. All right, you guys. I think I finally made it through all of the super chats. We can get started. So hello to everybody. Hello to all my mods. I saw Rose was here and Holden was here and several other mods here. So hello to everybody. Glad you guys could all make it tonight. And I got one that just now came in, it looks like, from Vincent Biagini. Vincent Biagini. And he says, new here, what's up? Well, to welcome everybody. We got some people who haven't been here in a while. We got some new people here. To welcome everybody, I'm going to do an official was up. Since you put was up, I'm thinking, since I haven't done a was up in a while, I'm thinking right here, right now, I should do one of my official was ups to officially kick this party off here on a wonderful, wacky Wake 'em Up Wednesday. So, as you all know, I do the best was ups in the world. Nobody does a was up like me. And I'm going to prove it once again, right here, right now. I'm going to do one of the best damn was ups you ever heard. And it goes like this. Who was it? Up. All right. I had to be careful not to knock over the lava lamps, because I think the last time I did a was up, I knocked over both the lava lamps, and one of them still don't quite work as good now, and it's all murky, and it was weeks ago. So I got to try not to knock over the lava lamps whenever I do the was ups, you know. All right. There you go. I did one. And nobody does that like me. I think I done proved it once again. With that said, you guys ready to get this party started? I'm thinking I should pull up a video clip since I haven't done that yet. And we're already like 20 minutes into the stream. And all I've done is do a bunch of silly shit. So I'm thinking I should probably go ahead and pull up the Tom Brady and Logan Paul slap real quick, and we'll just get that out of the way. So let's just get this out of the way real quick, because I was on a mini vacation. I was over in Santa Cruz when this happened, and I didn't hear about it until I got back a couple days ago. So here we go. Tom Brady supposedly slaps Logan Paul. Let's take a look. All right, so anyone who believes that Tom Brady for real slapped Logan Paul, like in any sort of malicious way, well, then that just means that you're a fucking retard and you don't fucking belong here if you're that fucking goddamn stupid. And guess what? Millions of people are that motherfucking goddamn stupid that they think that that was real. Now, I know my audience is not going to fall for this shit, but there are people out there who actually do think that Tom Brady slapped Logan Paul. But when you really go back and look, let me zoom this out real quick. When you really go back and look, he slaps him on the shoulder. It doesn't make contact with his face. Right, let's turn this stupid sound off. And we won't see any contact with the face. It's just contact with the shoulder. So he never actually gets slapped for real. Let me see if I can back this up just a bit more. See? So it kind of bangs off of his shoulder. So he doesn't actually like slap the shit out of him, right? So I would argue that if they wanted to do this and get more of a reaction, that Logan should have taken a real slap and told Tom, like, lay it in there. So right here, right now, I can show you. It would have looked a lot better if you would have been like, like actually made some contact. And Logan would have been fine. It wouldn't have hurt him. Wouldn't have broke nothing. So I don't know why he didn't just tell Tom to fucking lay it in there. It would have looked way better and tricked a lot more people. But instead, it looked like they fucking botched it. Like they didn't even do the slap correctly. So while shooting the movie Man in the Moon, Jim Carrey let Jerry the King Lawler slap the shit out of him. And he wanted to make it look just like when Jerry the King Lawler slapped Andy Kaufman. And Jerry the King Lawler and Andy Kaufman were friends. And when they went on TV, they pretended to be in this feud, this pro wrestling feud. And Jerry the King Lawler slaps the shit out of Andy Kaufman and knocks him out of his chair on TV. And it looks great because he actually slaps the shit out of him. So when they shoot the movie Man in the Moon, where Jim Carrey has to recreate being slapped the shit out of, he and Jerry talk it through, and he tells Jerry to go ahead and lay into him because he wants it to look as real as possible. And Jerry the King Lawler says that he didn't really like Jim Carrey and his attitude on set, so he took this opportunity and slapped the shit out of him on the first take, slapped him right out of his chair. And Jim says, well, all right, that'll have to do because we're not going to do that again. So if you're going to make it look as good as possible, you got to fucking lay it in there. So even if it's scripted, why not fucking slap the shit out of them? And then it would have looked way better. More people would be talking. So I know I just told a big long ass story, but man, this is weak as fuck. So they have this opportunity where Tom Brady and Logan are going to do this and they botch it this badly. Come on, man. Like Logan should have stuck his chin out there like, you don't have the fucking guts to touch me. And Tom should have been like, blow! Then it would have looked really good. Then we could have had something to talk about. But this is shit. This is some dog shit. So yeah, the losers who are thinking that that is real, those are the same losers that think that the Transformers in the WWE are actual women. All right. All right, you guys ready to move on to the flat Earth subject now? I think we got a good crowd here, almost 300 people. You guys ready to kick it off? Let's hit the thumbs up, and we're going to get started. Everybody here right now, hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up right now, and then we're going to get started. We're going to get started right after you hit the thumbs up right now. Yeah, you watching right now. Yeah, you watching the replay. Yeah, you over there. You. Him, her, that guy, hit the thumbs up right now. All right, cool. And away we go. So, you guys have seen the AE map, the flat Earth map, many times. You guys know what it looks like, right? And you've probably seen stuff like this. Right? You guys ever seen this map before, which depicts land beyond the ice wall? Right? I'm sure many of you guys recognize this. Maybe some of you have never seen it before, but all right, so check it out. I have always said that showing land masses like this and then naming them and such, like, to me, this is like a form of disinformation because it pushes a model that we have no evidence exists at all. So this could be like just total fantasy nonsense, and I would think that it is. But it does show land beyond our world. And I do believe that there is land beyond our world that is being hidden from us. So tonight, I want to further explore the notion of land being hidden from us. But I want to discuss some new ideas as far as land being hidden from us goes. And I want to further deep dive into that topic because I don't think it's been properly discussed. I don't think the ramifications of land being hidden from us has fully been discussed. And I came up with some new thoughts about land being hidden from us and what's going on currently where we live. And I started to have new revelations that I've never really thought of before. And so I'm going to get into that tonight. But I need to use like a diagram to be able to talk about other lands. But I don't want you guys to think that I'm pushing a new map or a new model, because I'm not. So I'm not pushing a new map or a new model right now. I think that what we're looking at is most likely some fantasy bullshit. So I don't want anyone to think or to repeat that this is Jake's new model. It's not. I'm not pushing any new model tonight. I'm only using these as diagrams to discuss the topic of more land being hidden from us and what that means to us where we live. All right. So if I show you guys a different map with the same concept like this, right? I don't know if there's that much land out there. I don't know what the land masses that they are hiding from us look like. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that any of these maps are correct or that any of these land masses out there actually do exist, because I don't know. You guys catch me? Following along? So let me state this again. This is not my new model. So don't anyone start asking me how this or that works on this map or model. I'm just telling you that if there's land hidden, and I'm going to talk about land being hidden from us, I need to be able to have some sort of visual aid to help explain it. That way it's not just you staring at me. In order for you guys to wrap your heads around what I'm going to tell you tonight, you need to be looking at some land masses outside of our world in order to fully grasp what I'm going to tell you. Right? Okay. So now that I've told you guys, that I'm not here to push any models tonight, what I am here to do is talk about how if they are hiding land from us, then how do we know that all this technology that we're using, let me get rid of this. Let me put myself back over here. So if there is more land out there being hidden from us, so how do we know the technology that we're using, like such as like our phones, right, or AI, how do we know that that wasn't originally developed and perfected in some other place far away long ago? What if this AI that we're messing around with and these phones we have, what if it was already designed and perfected 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 1,000 years ago in one of these other lands, and they already know that it controls the way people think and it controls the slaves? What if they've already perfected all of this technology? What if they already 1,000 years ago surrounded a bunch of slaves with these towers that we're surrounded by, and they already use them to stop the slaves from revolting, and they already have the technology perfected? And then what if us here in this portion of the map, what if we're in an underdeveloped area of the world and they're just now bringing along the control technology that already exists elsewhere? What if these towers that we're surrounded by existed 100, 200 years ago in one of these other lands, and they already know for sure that it works perfectly and controls people's thoughts and emotions and controls them from revolting? So I believe that this technology we're using is like fucking weapons. Where's my phone? Here it is. Oh. So these are like weapons, right? So how do we know that this technology wasn't originally developed somewhere far away by an advanced group of humans? So there may be a society that's 1,000 years ahead of us, and we're like cavemen being given this fucking out of this world technology. So I started to think about it more and more like, okay, when I was a kid in the 90s, I was like listening to CDs. Remember in the 90s where we were listening to CDs and we were watching VHS cassette tapes, and nobody was really on the internet. In the 90s, most people weren't on the internet, and the internet was rudimentary, and the people who did hang out on the internet were fucking losers and nerds at the time, pretty much. So basically in the 90s, nobody was doing their life in a phone. Cell phones existed, but nobody's life was inside of the phone the way it is now. Nobody's life was attached and revolved around the phone, right? So we went from in the 90s when I was a kid, 30 years ago, and now here we are in 2026, and my life is in this thing, and I have to have this in order to do this job for you guys. I have to have this in order to survive. I can't fucking live now without it. Oh yeah, CDs, DVDs, never watch them, never use them, never listen to them. I use this now for all of it. So we went from when I was a kid, I had all this physical media, and now it's this and the internet. And my life is intertwined with this computer shit within a 30-year span. And I know most everybody's lives are now intertwined with the computers one way or the other, right? So in a short time span, in my opinion, from when I was a kid in the 90s to now, everybody's walking around with the camera and the internet and the ability to listen to any song, watch any show, play any movie at any second that you feel like doing it. Do we really think that this technology was all progressed here? We're in this area of the map where we live? Did they really progress all the way to AI just naturally here where we live between United States and Japan and China? We just came up with all these fucking computer chips and all these devices and shit in the last 30 years. The computer chips keep getting smaller and smaller, smaller and more powerful. You got people just inventing all these computer chips all day long, progressing technology so fast and rapidly. Well, what if this technology already existed elsewhere and it's just being introduced to us? And our notion of the technology progressing is only because it's being fucking handed to the people in control here in this part of the world where we live. So we could essentially be looked at like fucking cavemen using old, primitive, out-of-date devices for slaves. Meanwhile, there might be a race of people 1,000 years ahead of us who don't use any of this shit. See what I'm saying? So when you start looking at the notion of land being hidden, well, technology being developed there and brought over here to control us, well, that's a whole new can of worms that people don't talk about. So the notion of hidden land has been brought up many, many, many times, but nobody's talking about the technology being used to enslave us was developed in these other lands. So now I'm starting to look at this area of the map that we supposedly live in, starting to wonder, like, is this really is this really all there is? So if they're hiding land, there may be a civilization so far advanced beyond us that if we were to see it, our mouth might drop open. So I started imagining what an advanced civilization would look like really, an advanced civilization of humans, other people who exist elsewhere, who are farther ahead. So I thought of, okay, a city 10 times the size of New York City with buildings 2-3 times taller and futuristic looking with flying cars and shit. So use your imagination right here, right now, everybody here, use your imagination. Picture New York City. Now picture New York City 10 times the size with skyscrapers 2-3 times taller with fucking flying cars. What if that's out there? What if that's out there? What if there is a city 10 times the size of New York City with flying cars and shit? Well, then the notion of flying cars in movies makes a whole lot of sense because they already do exist somewhere else. The notion of maybe one day we'll have flying cars. Yeah, maybe one day we're going to have flying cars real soon because they already exist somewhere else. And that idea and technology will be inserted here to make us think that our technology is progressing. So what I'm getting at here is I think a lot of what we're being controlled by was developed a long time ago and somewhere else by humans much more advanced than the ones we're looking at. I don't think that it's just the United States and Japan and China cranking out all this new tech. So that means the super powerful computer chips and shit we're using may have came from somewhere far, far away from here originally and may have been invented a long, long, long time ago. I don't hear anyone talking about this. So now I'm going to be the one to talk about it from now on. And we'll see what you guys think. Now, with that said, I think I got a bunch of super chats I probably need to read, or a few that came in here. RY said, if so-called aliens exist, they are from the same place where we live, just far away on the plane, not from outer space. This is their technology. So there's some humans that look different than any other human I've ever seen, you know? Like, I always thought that Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers looked like a fucking different human, like more different than other humans. Flea has always looked pretty weird to me. Like now he kind of looks like more like a regular grandpa, but I always thought like when Flea was younger, like he had this look in his face. And Flea was one of those people who was pushed by MTV a lot. The Chili Peppers were pushed by MTV a lot. So what if the Chili Peppers were trained up as kids somewhere else, and then they came over here to be entertainers for us slaves over here in the New World? Born in the North and sworn to entertain you, because I put it down for the state of Pennsylvania. So I came up with these other theories that they're bringing over entertainers from these other worlds and training. They have these kids trained up to be these super musicians and super entertainers, and they can bring over these out of this world, far advanced entertainers and bring them here, set them loose. And then we're like, what the fuck? How did this guy learn to play guitar like that? How did this guy learn to dance like that? So then my mind started being blown like, holy shit. What if the guitar licks that Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen were using, what if those came from other worlds? You know, what if the dance moves that Michael Jackson was using to fucking put people in a trance, what if that came from some other world and was given to these entertainers who get to come here and put us in a fucking trance? Then that means that they're the aliens coming over here, stupefying us and mystifying us with their talents. There's certain entertainers who were out of this world, far more better than anyone in their genre. They were ahead of their genre, right? And a lot of these entertainers are given music to play. And I finally figured out that a lot of these entertainers were given music to play by the beast system and propped up by the beast system. So I go back and I watch old concerts and I see musicians playing music that they hear in their earbuds. Metallica playing along with their earbuds. Chili Peppers playing along with their earbuds. So that means that their whole set and everything they do on stage can totally be controlled and handed to them. And they're just up there playing the beast music. They're the chosen ones who get to play the beast music for us slaves. And that's why they continuously get propped up by the beast system. So I started to think about these musicians who seem far more advanced and seem so different than everyone else. And I thought maybe, just maybe, they came from one of these other fucking places and were brought here specifically to keep us slaves entertained, keep us from figuring all this out. Speaking of the Chili Peppers, space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. You guys know that one, right? We'll get to that in just a minute. Let me read this super chat, and then I'll knock out my Chili Pepper segment. All right. Rex James with a donation says, how about Richie from Boston pitching to the Galactic Federation to endorse his Bible vape juice is 100% galactic, organic, made from real star seeds?
So what I need to do is I need to get in touch with the Galactic Federation, which I just now found out exists by a good friend of mine named Rex James. And what I need to do is I need to get them to endorse my Bible vape juice because it is 100% organic and it's the only known cure for the Chinese nano AIDS, which have most definitely invaded all of your anuses. And as you know, it's made from 100% organic real star seeds. So you get a money back guarantee if it does not work for you. And you can use my promo code down below and you can get 33% off.
All right, there you go. Let me take a drink. I'm talking too much. I totally forgot to drink my coffee this morning. I started to feel tired. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot the coffee. So now I'm drinking it during the stream. which I don't usually do. All right. Let me get rid of this map here. All right. All right. So I was tripping out on some mushrooms, right? And having all these thoughts. And I was watching some live performances from different bands because when I trip out on mushrooms, I like to watch old performances from different rock bands, old metal bands, old rock bands, classic rock bands. I watch all sorts of bands back in the 80s and 90s and even the 70s. And I like to go back and watch the old footage of the live performances because I like to see who was actually good and who was a poser. Who could pull off their music live and who couldn't? Who was a studio artist poser and who was an actual live player? And I found that if you go back and you watch old concerts from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and you watch all the different types of bands, the metal bands, the rock bands, and pop acts and all that stuff, you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot about what was happening at the time, the instruments and the styles being used and the sounds that come from the musicians. And so through the use or through the music, the culture would progress. And so it started to occur to me that the music is part of their control mechanism. So if they can get the masses to all be hooked on a certain type of music, then they can progress the musical culture and progress how people think and feel through the music. And so they can hire certain artists to play these certain songs and control how people think, feel, and act in any given area based on the music. So you can put people in a trance and mystify them with a certain set of sounds. And if you get these certain sounds in a certain order with a certain beat, you can put anyone into a trance. Get them to dance. Take control of their mind and what they think and how they feel, how they dress and how they act, right? So music has a powerful effect on a lot of people, especially when you add drugs and alcohol to the mix. More control mechanism. So I started to think as I was tripping out on mushrooms, watching this old Chili Peppers concert. They have this line in Californication. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. And if you want these kind of dreams, it's Californication. I'm sure you guys all know the line, space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. But I was watching the fucking Chili Peppers. Hold on, let me pull up their concert real quick. There it is. So I was watching this concert of the Chili Peppers, and this is a more recent one. And I was tripping out, and I was having some of these thoughts that I'm talking about tonight. And then there was this part in the set that I'm going to show you guys right here, where Anthony and Flea have this little conversation in front of this giant fucking stadium.
Hey, Flea.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
So you're on a planet?
Yes.
You're on a planet. Beautiful thing.
Spinning around.
You're kind of at the bottom spinning. 18 miles per second, you just moved.
So Anthony and Flea, in between songs, have this little conversation. So Flea, you're on a planet. Yep, and you're spinning 18 miles a second. Yep. Well, I thought these were the guys who said space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. So why in the motherfuck are they talking about planets and spinning and shit in between songs? Oh, dude, they just happen to believe that. And they happen to talk about it in between songs when they're playing for a stadium of people. The same guys, same dude who said space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. They're going to kill time in between songs talking about Earth being a motherfucking planet. I ain't stupid. I ain't fucking stupid. These boys were told to talk about Earth being a planet, instructed to talk about Earth being a planet. So yeah, you can't trust a group like the Chili Peppers talking about space may be the final frontier because it's made in a Hollywood basement, because they're going to turn around and fucking tell you that you live on a planet. And I know for sure that that ain't true.
Yes.
Hey, Flea.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
So you're on a planet?
See how they just did? So this is what I was tripping out on not last night, several nights ago when I was in Santa Cruz. I was watching this old concert and listening to it and tripping out. And I was like, dude, these guys are being told to say this shit. Like this is like part of their set is talking about being on a fucking planet between songs. And then when they play the songs, they're playing along to their own self. So they're not like playing by ear. They're not vibing off of each other. They play along to the sounds they've already recorded. So the song starts in their ear monitors and they play what's in their ear monitors. They play along to themselves. So when you see a live performance from the Chili Peppers, they're playing along with a track of themselves. So when they do Danny California or whatever, they're just playing along with the fucking studio track. So they aren't actually putting their own spin or own vibe on any of the live performances like the old days. So in the old days, but when guys used to actually play without the monitors in their ears, would play listening to each other and vibing off each other, things would change and you would have live performances go a little different and sound a little different because it was really happening, real music where they feed off of each other and play based on the beat that the drummer's keeping and the sounds of the other instruments. Whereas when you're playing along to a pre-recorded track of yourself, none of the performances are ever really going to stand out or be different. So it's like a controlled way to have these bands go out and play for huge audiences. And then they know exactly what the Chili Peppers are going to do and say the entire set. So I was watching this concert and they got to one point where they were just like all confused and noodling. And it was like, I could tell they don't even know what they're going to play next. They have to wait for it to fucking come into their ears. So it was almost like the first half of the set, they knew exactly all the songs they were going to play. But then like the last several songs, they looked like they were all confused and waiting for the music to come. And so the control system might have their thumb so tight, the control so tight over these bands that they might tell them what they're going to play and when they're going to play it. So these bands might not have any control at all over any of the songs they play that night. They might not choose any of them. So Anthony and Flea and John and Chad, these guys might just wait for whatever set they're given. It doesn't appear to me that they're choosing these songs and choosing the order. It seemed more like they were fucking waiting for it to come on in their ears and then playing it. So the more I watched, the more I was like, dude, a lot of these bands are just playing along with their earbuds and they just have to play along with the pre-recorded tracks. So they can't really do anything new or out of the ordinary. So there's like no chance you're going to see a band like do something new and extraordinary because they're stuck having to play with that shit in their ear. And the people who control these bands, they don't want to have to risk them going out on stage and saying or doing something that could blow the whole cover on the whole operation. So in order to keep people thinking that these bands are legit, you have them play a set that is given to them. They don't even get to choose their own set. They have to play along with what's in their ears. So I started to notice that like a lot of these big bands that play in the stadiums, they're all just playing along with what's in their ears. So the only way to get to the point where you're playing for a stadium, you have to be promoted by the beast system, and you have to play music of the beast system, and you have to play along with the fucking ear monitors, and you're not allowed to say anything that goes against the system in between songs that they have not approved of. So that's how much control they have over the music. And why would they need that much control over the music? To control us. They need control over the music because the music has control over a lot of us. A lot of people, their whole personality is because of music that they like, right? So music is part of the control system. And I believe some of these groups were trained as children specifically to be who they are today. Some of these entertainers look like they came from some other fucking world, and they have talents far beyond anyone else in their genre. So I think there's certain entertainers that were trained up in a land far away and were brought over here to mystify and stupefy us. So imagine you go to a place in the world where there's a group of people who've never seen a white man or any modern technology. Let's say you have a magic flying carpet, and you show up to a land where there's these tribes that have no contact with the outside world, right? You guys following along? Right? So let's say you show up and you make contact with a tribe who has no contact with the outside world. And then you show them this. You're like, and they're like, whoa, like their mind would be blown. So if you were to show up and then show this to them and then give it to them and then give them a diagram of how it works and how to make your own, and then give them the tools and supplies to create more of these, they would think that you are God. They would think that you are the most brilliant thing that has ever come along. And you could tell them, I made this. I created this. And I brought it here to you for you guys to use because I'm your Lord and Savior. And I'm going to be back in like 5-10 years or so. And I'm going to give you guys some more cool shit. So just wait around for me and worship me until I get back. But for right now, here, I'm going to give you this, right? So when I fly away on my magic carpet, them motherfuckers are going to be like, holy shit, look what God just gave us. And I would have artificially improved their notion of technology in a snap of a finger. I just artificially advanced these motherfuckers by handing them this. Here you go. Artificial technology advancement. You following? Who's following? So what keeps us from coming to the notion that this is handed to us the same way and technology is being artificially advanced? What if we are the primitive people in the underdeveloped part of the world using the primitive technology? And then they hand us this shit. Here you go. Yeah, we just naturally progressed this technology here in the lands that you know about. It definitely didn't come from any other lands, for sure. This definitely didn't exist hundreds of years ago. No. It was all recently developed. That's what they want us to believe, that all this tech was recently developed, and it's just constantly getting better and better and better and better by the second. Well, what if it's not? What if it was all this shit was already invented and they got all this shit perfected and 100, 200 years more advanced shit than this that they haven't even broke out and shown us yet or let us use yet? Well, it makes sense to me that that would come from some other land and that they don't implement it to underdeveloped lands until the societies get far enough along, and you progress the societies along by giving them artificial wars and mystifying them with movies and music. And through the movies and the music, you progress their notion of the technology along. See? The things you can start thinking about when you have a good psychedelic trip. So yeah, imagine if you were to hand these people some technology that they ain't never seen before, and you tell them that it comes from you. You made it. Well, as far as they know, you're telling the truth. Right? Who's following along? Who's following along? Now, I got to be honest, I've been ranting and raving. I haven't been paying attention to the chat. So this is one of those things where I have to riff because I've never explained this before. So I'm going through the process of learning how to explain this radical new thought process. And while I do this, I'm also coming up with new stuff on the spot. So all right. Yeah. So the notion of land being hidden was talked about for it was like 10 years ago when this flat earth subject was huge. And of course, people were like, they could be hiding more land from us. So I've said many times they could be hiding land, but I never like really, really thought about the ramifications. Like, well, if there's a city where they speak English and it's 10 times bigger than New York City, and they got flying cars and shit, and technology's 100, 200 years ahead, and they know that all of us down here are a bunch of like third world idiots who believe in dinosaurs. Maybe them people up there or wherever, maybe the people who live in the advanced world, maybe none of them believe in dinosaurs, and maybe they live in a whole different year. And that's when I really started to trip the fuck out. Like, what if 2026 only exists in this area of the map? And if you go to a different area of the map, it ain't 2026 no more. What if it's 3026 or 2526? You know what I mean? Somewhere else. But here it's 2026. Then I started to really think, oh my God, you could totally have a fake timeline in one section of the world and a whole different timeline somewhere else. So if some other culture is far more advanced, they're not going to be living in the year 2026. So this language that I'm speaking, English, they may be speaking this somewhere else. Maybe a lot of these languages came from other lands originally. So I can't tell you what's really out there. But what I can tell you is I think we're being lied to on a massive fucking scale. And I think that this technology that we're being let use and the towers we're surrounded by, I think it's all the control system that comes from somewhere else. So I think that the one world government and the phony wars and whatnot, all that makes sense if the government is tied back to a control structure from far away that is much more advanced. All of it everything starts to snap into place if you start thinking about the technology already being invented and coming from far away and then being brought over to us. Like if AI was perfected 500 years ago and already tested and used on hundreds of millions of people somewhere else, well, then they already know it's going to work on us here in this part of the world, in this timeline that we're in. They already know their AI is going to work perfectly because they already perfected it 500 years ago on a culture somewhere else. They could have already brought hundreds of cultures to their death, stopped many rebellions in their tracks with their electronic weapons. And they could have already done all this over and over again, and they have it perfected and down to a T. But we think we can start a rebellion and overtake the government whenever we want. Meanwhile, they got us surrounded by the most sophisticated tech that we could possibly imagine that comes from some other world. And all they got to do is flip a switch and they'll stop any rebellion, any revolt in its tracks. So I don't even think that we can revolt and rebel against what we're up against, because I think that the tech is so far advanced that they could flip a switch and take us all down real quick, instantly. I think that they have the technology that surrounds us in place specifically that if we ever started to revolt or rebel, they can instantly thwart that. So where could they have developed and already tested this? In a land far away, in a time that already happened. So that means all this shit that we're doing may have already happened elsewhere. Many years ago. So they already know what's going to happen here because they already have done this before. Huh? What do you think? What do you guys think? So then I started to really trip out and I was like, dude, what if like 100 years ago, there was a group called Metallica who played the Beast System music, and then they die, and then they reintroduce a new Metallica to play the same Beast System songs here for us? Could that be possible? Could you have a Metallica 100 years ago in some other land, in some other timeline, and then reintroduce Metallica's music through different musicians to us here in this timeline? And we're like, holy fuck. How did they come up with Master of Puppets? How did the Metallica boys come up with Master of Puppets and For Whom the Bell Tolls? Do you think they were just sitting around like noodling and they just came up with like, obey your master, master, obey your master? Is that what they were doing? Young boys telling you to obey your master? For Whom the Bell Tolls. Hey, I was thinking maybe we should start this one by going, no, 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 no. So the Metallica boys were handed the Beast System music. Obviously, I've figured that out. Metallica, fake metal band, propped up by MTV, handed the Beast System music to play and coached up while they were children to be what they are today. I figured it out. So now I'm going to take it one step further. What if that same music was already used on a culture somewhere else? What if For Whom the Bell Tolls and Master of Puppets was already played by a different group of guys to control a different group of humans? Imagine a hit song that you can reintroduce to a new culture, and you'll for sure put them in a trance and take them over. And that there's a hit song for every type of person and every type of culture that you can play, and they'll fucking start dancing and follow you and show up to stadiums just to hear them sounds. So when I talk about the control mechanism and music being one and the same, imagine a hit song that you can play for humans 500 years from now, and they'll be like, holy shit. Right? So if you have a group of humans cut off from society, you can introduce to them Elvis and the Beatles all over again. And they'd be like, holy fuck. You could introduce Michael Jackson with his dance moves again to a new group of people. And they'll be like, how the fuck did he learn to dance like that? Holy shit. Did he teach himself the moonwalk? What if the moonwalk is this special one-of-a-kind dance that came from some other world, and they let motherfucking Michael Jackson use it to mystify and stupefy us? Go back and watch Michael Jackson's goddamn dance moves. There ain't no way his daddy taught him that shit. So the more music I started to go back and look at, I started to see the control system in place. The world's biggest, most talented musicians who got to play the biggest stadiums, who got the scripted deaths. That music was most definitely not created just by them. That music was most definitely handed to them people. So I started to find all these examples of the Devil Beast System music being handed to different musicians. And in some cases, they could take a musician who's making a name for themselves and then come along and say, here's some of the Devil's music for you to play. And then suddenly that song is their number one song, their hit-selling single. A lot of the songs even have to do with the devil. So the music is a control mechanism, and they have these groups and in this music here to not only keep us mystified, stuck in a trance, but they can progress how people think, feel, and act through the music. So the way that the hippies acted in the 60s because of the music is different than the way that the people in the 90s acted during the grunge era. Grunge era also introduced a bunch of industry plant music. And then in the early 2000s, the new metal bands, they had their own industry plant sound that came along all of a sudden. So I've noticed a lot of different industry plant music changes the style of how people dress. It changes the lingo of how people talk. It changes a lot about society. So they want you to think that people just naturally stop liking hippie music and stop liking disco, and they naturally wanted to have more computerized, synthesized music in the 80s. And then they got tired of it, and they just naturally wanted to have some grunge in the 90s. And then they got tired of that, and then they just naturally wanted to have Kid Rock and fucking Limp Bizkit new metal in the early 2000s. And then they got tired of that, and now we're to the point where people are tired of real musicians, and they just want to listen to some AI. And this is just a natural progression. People just naturally just started liking all these new things on their own. Now, all those styles of music were introduced to us and handed to us to control us. So you guys catch my drift here? All right. Got a super chat from RY. He said, I heard that back in 2014, Red Hot lip sang their own track at the Super Bowl halftime show. So if you are letting these entertainers become gigantic and play for stadiums of people, you want to have control over every single thing that they're going to do. And you are going to know for sure what they're going to do before they go out there. And you're going to have an understanding with the artist that, okay, you're going to do the Super Bowl halftime show, but you are not to say a word in between songs. You are only to do these songs, and you are only to sing the lyrics in the songs. No improvising, no ad-libbing, no extra messages between songs. You are only to do these vocals live. And if you start to deviate or do anything, we'll cut you off. We'll cut the feet. So, yeah, man, in order for them to have total control, they need these sellouts under their thumb completely. You can't risk them telling the truth on live TV in front of a stadium full of people, right? So, yeah, the more I started to notice that, like, the biggest bands, they're stuck having to play along with what's in their ear monitors, and they're stuck having to play sets that are handed to them beforehand or given to them while they're on stage. So some bands I'll notice, like the Chili Peppers, they'll be like noodling around parts of the set, waiting for the next song to come on in their ears, almost like they don't know which one it's going to be. And then they'll be like, oh, okay. It's like they definitely aren't choosing their set lists. They aren't choosing what song to play based on how the crowd feels or how they feel or anything like that. No, it's all being chosen for them. So when you think about, like, if you want to be a professional musician, well, you're never going to be able to get to Metallica or Red Hot Chili Pepper level, because you have to be part of their beast system, and you have to have been born into it, essentially. So you can get to the point where you can play for a living in bars and clubs. And I know guys who play music for a living, but they can't just get by playing their own original music only. So the only people who get to play original music and get gigantic, it seems all of them are on the big club payroll, and and they're singing and playing music that was handed to them. So it makes me think that they train up these musicians as children to be what they are today. Tristan Spindler says, pretty please speak on Nirvana. So if we look at the grunge era, the most popular band, and to this day, Nirvana's Teen Spirit and Come As You Are plays on every rock radio station. The new rock and the classic rock stations play Nirvana. So like every radio station that plays rock music plays Come As You Are and Teen Spirit and several other Nirvana tracks, right? So you look at the lead singer, tragic death, and that Nirvana was like the top grunge band, arguably. And then you look at the other grunge bands, Alice in Chains. Oh, their lead singer tragically dead. Stone Temple Pilots. Oh, their lead singer is tragically dead. Soundgarden. Oh, their lead singer is tragically dead. You mean to tell me, like, all the popular grunge singers from that era, like all their lead singers just died? Drugs, man. They just took too many drugs, dude. I don't fucking buy it. Only Eddie Vedder is still alive from that group of Seattle bands and grunge bands. All the other singers are dead. Well, they just took too many drugs, Jake. I don't fucking buy it. So I think what they did is they repackaged Kurt Cobain. Some say he became Rivers Cuomo of Weezer, which sounds retarded, but if you look at the guitar and the guitar playing and style, they may have turned Kurt Cobain into Rivers Cuomo from Weezer. Now, this is where I go off on my technology from another land tangent again. What if the disguise technology is far more advanced in the other lands? And what if you can take certain musicians and give them like the best disguise ever humanly known to wear, or give them surgery to become a whole different person, and perfect surgery that where they don't botch, where you can transform someone into someone else surgically? What if that technology does exist? What if they can just surgically turn Kurt Cobain into Rivers Cuomo, and then they reintroduce him again as a musician again? Right? So I've heard other people talk about Kurt possibly becoming Rivers. I can't say for sure that's true, but their guitar playing and guitar choice. And then there's some inside jokes of Rivers referring to Kurt in interviews and whatnot. So there might be something there, but I can't say for sure. But the grunge era and the grunge genre, 100% manufactured. 100%. All them bands got on MTV and got big. So check it out. I go back and I watch old live performances. That's what I like to do in my free time when I'm tripping out. I like to go back and watch the old bands. So here's what I found when I go back and I watch the grunge. The Nirvana live sets, they're usually kind of shitty. There's not that many examples of Nirvana playing a whole live set and sounding awesome. In fact, there's like moments where they're doing decent, but then there's moments where they're blowing it and they suck. So I went back and watched some of the live performances, and I had a hard time trying to find a enjoyable live concert of Nirvana, like a genuine live performance from start to finish. I had a hard time finding one that was like really good. So from what I found, they weren't that great live. Now, I also went back and I watched some old concerts from other grunge bands, and I found that Chris Cornell was not a good singer live. So Chris Cornell is remembered as a legendary, awesome singer. But when I go back and try and find Chris Cornell's best performances, I find shitty performance after shitty performance, the most disappointing Chris Cornell performances. And that's all I can find. He'll try and play guitar and he sucks. And when he tries and sing and play guitar at the same time, he fails. So Chris Cornell's powerful voice on the records sounds amazing. Go back and try and find Chris Cornell getting through a whole show sounding like that, and he doesn't do it. In fact, the last 5 years of Chris Cornell that we saw, if you go back and look at the last performances from the last 5 years, almost all of them are fucking terrible. Go look. So a lot of people remember Chris Cornell because of them powerful vocals on the albums. But if you go back and you look at Soundgarden live footage and Audio Slave live footage, not good. Chris Cornell looking like a fucking heroin junkie and blowing it. No power in his vocal. Cracking vocals. No confidence. It's almost like they told him, dude, you have to get your shit together. You have to sing these songs. And he couldn't do it. And he lost all his confidence. And he couldn't fucking pull off being a live singer. So that's why he's dead. Because he fucking sucked. And I know some people will disagree. Yeah, like I told you, the albums sound great. Try and find Chris Cornell singing a whole show awesome in the zone with that same power from the albums, and it doesn't exist. So through my watching of old concerts, I got to find out a lot of these so-called amazing performers, some of them suck and couldn't perform their studio tracks live. They would fail over and over and over and over. So I went back and watched Alice in Chains, and I found some solid performances, but the lead singer, Lane, looked like he was strung out, and it looked like he was not enjoying what he was doing, almost like he was used as a slave and the music was extracted from him. So when I go back and I look at Lane Staley from Alice in Chains, it looks like they used him and told him to sing these songs, like they handed him these lyrics to sing, and they extracted this vocal from him, and he couldn't do it live each time. Like he would fuck up live performances a lot, and his vocal would struggle. Like the older he was getting, he was getting shittier and shittier. But there was a time when he was younger where they extracted these really powerful vocals from Lane Staley of Alice in Chains, and they marketed this music as downtrodden, depressing music for the grungies. Down in a hole, I'm feeling so small. You know, it's like this downtrodden music that makes you feel dark and depressed. And it was like specifically designed for this grunge culture. It was grunge culture to take you out of your happiness and put you in this like low down, dirty, trodden, druggy vibe. Because that's the vibe they create. So when I go back and I look at the tape, I can see some of these musicians are uncomfortable. Like they don't even want to play that shit. They don't even want to sing that shit. And that's why I think they die off. They die off because they can't keep it up. So I think the beast system comes along and pulls the plug. So I don't believe that Kurt Cobain and Scott Weiland and Chris Cornell and who's the other one? So I don't think all these grunge guys died the way they said, of just drugs. So there you go. I gave you a shitload there. Insane and DeBrain says, I imagine it's not just tech and music, but things like our agriculture system could be gifted. Dude, I was totally thinking that too. You know how like broccoli is not grown anywhere like naturally? You've never walked on a trail and be like, oh, look, here's some broccoli. I'm going to cook this. You've never been walking along and found wild corn. So what if broccoli, this fucking Frankenstein plant, comes from some other fucking place, some other area, and was brought over here? What if corn and some of these GMO seeds and whatnot? Yeah, all this could have been developed hundreds of years ago in a land far away and already tested and perfected. Yes, agriculture systems, sir. Yeah, have you ever found broccoli? It looks like a Frankenstein plant and it tastes like shit, but they tell us it's healthy. Well, let me tell you something, y'all. I stopped eating broccoli and I never eat it anymore. And I don't feel any less healthy. So I was told by my stupid parents, who are total sheep, that broccoli's good for you because it's a vegetable. And then I done figured out on my own, after thinking about it, that, hey, I've never even seen broccoli. Like, where does this come from? And then if you eat it without putting ranch dressing on it or without cooking it in butter and salt, it tastes like fucking shit. And everyone knows it. So it's a revolting Frankenstein plant that doesn't grow in nature. So that means it totally could have been brought here from some other world from a long time ago, created many, many years ago by diabolical, evil people. And then they convinced the slaves that it's health food. For sure, bro. Corn, broccoli, these GMO seeds and shit. Hell yeah, dude. See how this way of thinking encompasses all these other subjects? I told you guys I had a revelation. That's why I'm spouting off tonight so much. Because I tripped out and I kept thinking more and more about this type of shit. And it made me feel different. Like, oh my God, I'm like one of the only humans who's figured this out and is thinking like this right now. I'm going to start talking about this and see what happens. Right? So I've been fucking thinking about this for days. And I even had to like write down a bunch of this stuff for myself so that I could remember to tell it to you guys. Right? So all this chicken scratch I got written down here is all this shit I've been thinking about lately. Davey D from the LaFleur Network says, this is your number one truther source. Smash the thumbs up and bell. Shout out everyone here in the live chat. Over 400 plus. Welcome if you are new. Yes, smash the thumbs up button. I'm the only one who's going to break down how a lot of these planted bans are like CIA operations. So I'm starting to go down this rabbit hole, like discovering that like certain bands were propped up and used as control mechanisms, and they even introduced drug cultures through certain bands. So you're not going to hear anyone else talking about this, and especially not tying it back to Hidden Land and the flat earth. So what we're doing here tonight is revolutionary in a way. Ain't nobody doing this on the internet right here, right now. So with that said, smash the thumbs up. We're having fun here. Talking some revelations, some new flat earth info. Come on, hook a brother up with a thumbs up. And Davey D, thanks once again for your support, brother. RY says vegetables are not fit for human consumption. They are full of oxalates. Meat, dairy, and eggs are all we need and should really eat a little fruit too. So I'm a meat and potatoes guy. I like to also have like some potatoes and rice to go along with my meat, but the meat is the main event. So yeah, man, meat to me is like the main event, the main course. And yeah, I like milk too. I like to drink raw milk as well. I like to cook my food in butter, real butter, for sure, man. And I buy a shitload of eggs, right? So I go through a bunch of eggs because they're quick and easy to make. So yeah, man, I'm all about the meat, dairy, and eggs for sure. And a little bit of fruit sometimes too. And I've accepted that, yeah, the fruit's going to be GMO and poisoned. So I just only eat it once in a while, you know? Like every great once in a while, I just want to have an apple. I know it's some poisonous GMO shit, but every once in a while, I just want to eat an apple. So every great once in a while, I endure the poisonous apple fruit. All right. All right. So another example of a CIA band. Let me go. Let me try and find this old footage here. Here it is. All right. So this group, the Grateful Dead, I'm almost positive this was some sort of like CIA operation. So the Grateful Dead, of course, with the jam guitar player Jerry Garcia, Bob Weir on rhythm guitar and vocals. And so this band got to the point where they were playing stadiums. Right? So that Grateful Dead has their own sound, and they were playing the most gigantic football stadiums, and they were filling football stadiums in the 90s. So in the 70s and 80s, they were building their reputation as this psychedelic rock band that's really groovy, and a lot of hippies would take drugs and follow the band. And then it ballooned into this, into a state like stadiums around the country. So they were filling up like literally football stadiums, playing this this light groovy rock and roll music. And I started looking into it more and more, started thinking, and I was like, okay, so they pass out drugs such as LSD before the show, and then they sell drugs and merch and food, and they have their own community and their own commissary, their own culture, their own economy. And so if the CIA was to pass out LSD and hire these musicians to play this certain type of music to manufacture this hippie culture, and then they did that over 3 decades, and they created this gigantic mass of people that they could fill stadiums with. So that's another example of how you can control people and what they feel and what they think and what they do. And you can have people following this group, the Grateful Dead, thinking that this is all just naturally occurring, right? Meanwhile, take away the drugs, take away the LSD, would they still have all them people dancing? So if you hand out a bunch of drugs and LSD, you're going to get all these hippies thinking that this is the best music that they've ever fucking heard. And that's what happened. They got a bunch of hippies on LSD who would follow the band around and trip the fuck out and dance. Right? So I think it was an operation to pass out this drug and create this hippie culture tied around this group. And started dissecting their logo, the Grateful Dead logo, and just the name Grateful Dead. Like, who comes up with that? So you got the Grateful Dead logo. You guys are going to be able to notice something right away about the logo. So do we really think that the Grateful Dead came up with this logo on their own? Is that that what we want? We want to believe? Who wants to believe that the Grateful Dead just sat around and came up with that on their own? So I don't know about you guys, but I see some things that stick out, like blue, red, Democrat, Republican. Hey, isn't this the same colors on a cop car? Woo, woo! You know, them guys who can pull you over at gunpoint. So you got the red and the blue, your Masonic colors, with your skull and a lightning bolt going through the skull. And we're to believe that them fellas just came up with that. And they just started playing these songs. And people were just like, oh my God. Oh. Right. Just because they are so groovy? Nah. If you're going to fill up a motherfucking a football stadium with people like, oh, yeah, you're going to need the assistance of some hardcore drugs, man. And that's what they had. So I don't believe for a second any regular rock and roll band gets to have drugs and LSD sold outside their shows freely without the cops stepping in and busting that. So obviously the cops were involved. They had to have been. So see, by going back and looking at these old concerts and stuff, I get to figure out like how the music progressed and who was real and who wasn't. Now, having said that, some of the songs that I watched were really, really, really good. So I watched some of the old Grateful Dead stuff, and some of it is absolutely fantastic. So I'm not going to sit here and act like them guys aren't good players. They are. They're fantastic players. And if you go back and you watch the footage, well, if you just so happen to get really effed up on drugs, psychedelics mainly, if you take some psychedelics and you go back and watch those old Grateful Dead concerts from the 90s and 80s, I'm not lying, them dudes, they get down. They can play. So the music was good. So I'm not going to sit here and say all their stuff is my favorite, but I went back and I listened to it while I was tripping. And I was like, oh, this is why people like Jerry Garcia. Because he fucking could explore on the guitar and take people to places mentally that no other guitar player could take them. Yes. So I went back and I watched the tape on a lot of these groups to see who was good and who wasn't. And I learned a lot more than just who's good and who wasn't. Such as, hey, wait a minute. This has to be a CIA operation. Couldn't nobody come up with this logo and these songs and then fucking play for 30 years and fill football stadiums? That's not possible. And also they were handed Jimmy's songs. They were handed Jimi Hendrix songs, which I gotta say, one of the best versions of All Along the Watchtower I've ever heard is by the Grateful Dead. So these dudes got to play Hendrix songs in front of a stadium full of people. And Hendrix is another character who I think is a psyop and an operation. All right. There must be some kind of way out of here, said a joker to the thief. There's too much confusion, I can't get no relief. Businessman, don't drink my wine, come and take my earth. None will ever out of mine. Nobody up in his world. Hey! Yeah. So this is one of the best versions of All Along the Watchtower. If you ever go back and want to watch it. All right. So yeah, by studying some old concerts, going back in time and seeing what motivated people to get up and dance and what was popular in the time and how did they put people into a trance back in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s, and how did the music change over the time. So I go back and I look at all that stuff, and then I start to think about it in a whole new way. It's like, man, I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to become a famous musician, and now I don't see it the same way. Like, I don't see becoming a famous musician and having to play them songs over and over and over and over and over again. I don't look at it the same way no more. But there was a time where I thought that's what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to be a rock star at one time. I still kind of do. But when I see what rock stars have to do and what they have to put up with, they have to play that shit in their ear, and they aren't allowed to do anything that they want to do. They have to play the scripted music that they were handed. Now suddenly it don't look so fun and so awesome. All right. Yes, they own you when you sign that record contract. So what I've noticed is some of them guys who got made famous and they have that hit song or two that they get to play, after 30 years of playing it, they get fucking sick of it. So you can see them up there like having to play a song that they don't even want to play. Like Vince Neil looks like he's in such pain having to sing for Motley Crue. Like if you look at Vince Neil on the last few performances that he's done, like he looks like he literally wants to die. Literally, dude looks like he does not want to be there trying to sing. And he knows that when he opens his mouth and tries to sing, it's going to fucking suck. And everyone's going to talk about how shitty of a singer he is. But he has to do it anyway, because he signed his name that he's going to do that until he drops dead. So a lot of these guys are carrying out their contract where they play or sing until they fall over dead. And you can tell they don't like it anymore. At least I can. I know what it's like to play music and have fun. And I know what it's like to have to play some covers that you didn't write and play some other person's song for a crowd there that doesn't want to hear your originals. I know the difference. I know when a musician's up there playing a same old song that they've played for 30 years and that they're fucking sick of it. And they're mad that that's the only tune that people like of their band anymore. So some bands go on to resent their one hit, their biggest hit. They get mad at the fans. Like, how come you only like this song? You guys only came to see me because of this one fucking song. I hate you guys. Got Stormtroop says, please check Jacob Darrup's He Is Real Van Halen covers. Love you. Dude, there is like 100 dudes who try and learn everything Eddie Van Halen did. I've seen so many Eddie Van Halen knockoffs who use the same guitar as him, dress like him, and play his covers. And they have a Van Halen cover band. So there's like 10 different Van Halen cover bands that do the full dress up and everything. So yeah, man, I'm sure this Jacob Darrup's guy is probably an Eddie clone. It's pretty popular to try and recreate some of those magical tones. So Van Halen, I went back and I watched the footage of Van Halen and Van Hagar. Guess what I found? There's 0 examples of David Lee Roth singing the songs as best he can for a whole show. 0. The only David Lee Roth examples I found that were okay were in the late 70s, early 80s. And there were a few of them where he wasn't too fucked up where he kind of tried. But whenever I go back and watch old Van Halen, almost every performance is ruined by David Lee Roth. Ruined. Whereas Eddie, he'll be trying his best and playing his ass off. So I found many examples of Eddie playing the songs as best as he could, trying his best to hold the whole thing up, while David Lee Roth was doing these gay ass dance moves and kicks and singing out of tune, out of time, and rambling on like a fucking cokehead. And he did that for years, and people let him get away with it for years. And now here we are in 2026. David Lee Roth embarrasses himself by going out there and singing even far worse than he used to and rambling still to this day like a fucking cokehead. So, yeah, if you go back and watch old Van Halen shows, there's examples of Eddie doing some amazing stuff. So Eddie was a for real, legit virtuoso guitar player, and he recreated all his songs as best he could many times in many different arenas all over the world. So I went back and I watched several different performances, not just the Van Halen, David Lee Roth era, but the Van Hagar era. So I watched Van Hagar era stuff, and there was a time where Sammy and Eddie were playing together really well, and some of those Van Hagar tunes, they played really good live. So in a competition between old Van Halen and Van Hagar, Sammy blows the doors off of David Lee Roth as far as the vocals are concerned. So I went back and looked at the tape, and the Van Hagar era is better than I thought it was. And there's many examples of Sammy Hagar trying his best to sing the whole show as best he can. Many examples. And there's examples where he did a pretty exceptional job, even though he's not my favorite singer, even though their songs weren't as cool as the Lee Roth Van Halen songs. If you look at the live tape, early 90s Van Hagar, some of those shows they did were pretty damn incredible, and they pulled off their music spectacularly. So I actually have a newfound respect for Eddie and Sammy and the stuff that they did together when they were at their peak, because they actually tried their best to play them songs as best they could without all the gay horse shit that David Lee Roth would do to ruin every Van Halen performance. In fact, I went back and watched so many damn old performances, I came to the conclusion that David Lee Roth was told to purposely ruin Van Halen. The dude was told to fucking go up there and ruin it. That's the only thing that makes sense. And I think he still ruins Van Halen songs on purpose to this day. All right. So there's my Van Halen rant. RY says, look at the image on the Boston album with the guitar spaceship. It's got the number 33 in blue flames. All right. Yes, this is a popular album cover. My mom bought this album, so I remember as a kid seeing that record cover and thinking it was cool because I saw all the space alien shit on TV and in all those movies. So when I was a little kid, I thought that was a cool album. I actually really like that album. This is a very good album. It's almost too crispy and clean that they weren't able to quite pull it off live, but as a studio album, it's pretty exceptional. But yeah, the Flying Saucers. So what if some of these bands were born in a different land, or some of these musicians, let's say, are born in a different land, a different area of the map that we're not allowed to know about or visit, and then they're brought over here to be lifelong musicians and entertain us slaves. And they're allowed to be rich and famous, but they have to play this certain music that's handed to them. Huh? Yeah. So yeah, I don't think for a second that Boston just came up with that iconic logo themselves, right? So the more I've been looking into this, the more I find examples of groups that are handed music to play that they for sure did not come up with on their own. So I was thinking perhaps AI could have been used to write a lot of hit songs a long time ago. And then they use these songs to sell to the masses, right? And they control the masses through these songs. So they can have bands that are already up and running, and then they can come along and have them play this certain tune that they know for sure is going to work. So what was another one I wanted to talk about? Oh yeah. Devil Went Down to Georgia. Yeah. So I was listening to this song the other night, and I found this live version. And you have the Charlie Daniels Band playing their hit single, The Devil Went Down to Georgia. And I know that this song is copyrighted, so I would play it, but I'll get copyright claimed if I play it. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard the song, Devil Went Down to Georgia. Now, I was listening to this song while I was tripping out on some mushrooms. This song, I just happened to stumble across. And it was so freaking catchy that by the end of it, I was convinced that these motherfuckers did not write it. I was like, okay, this hillbilly, Charlie Daniels, ain't no way he and his boys came up with Devil Went Down to Georgia. So the lyrics of this song, the devil went down to Georgia. He was looking for a soul to steal because he was in a bind. He was way behind. He was willing to make a deal. And he came across this young man sawing on a fiddle and playing it hot. And the devil jumped up on a hickory stump and said, "Boy, let me tell you what. I bet you didn't know it, but I'm a fiddle player too. And if you care to take a dare, I'll make a bet with you. See, you play a pretty good fiddle, boy, but you give the devil his due. I bet a fiddle of gold against your soul because I think I'm better than you." Well, the boy said, "My name is Johnny, and it might be a sin, and I'll take your bet you're going to regret because I'm the best there's ever been." Who in the motherfuck comes up with that in the late 80s in a country band? That rhyme scheme is like so incredible. Every single syllable is accounted for. It features a story about a fiddle playing contest with the devil for Johnny's soul. And you can figure out what the story is saying and what it's telling you within like a minute. And it speaks perfectly of this fiddle playing between the devil and Johnny. Who in the motherfuck wrote that? Who came along and gave this country son of a bitch that song? Because he doesn't have any other songs that sound quite like that one, that features a story about a devil in a fiddle playing contest. When the devil finished playing, he said, "You're pretty good, old son. Well, sit down in that chair right there. I'm going to show you how it's done. Fire in the mountain, run, boys, run. Devil's in the house till the rising sun." So I think that AI has been around for a long time. And I think AI was used to create this perfectly written tune about the devil in a fiddle contest. And then they came around and they gave this song to Charlie Daniels in the 80s and trained him up, because ain't nobody's coming up with that shit on their own. I listened to that song 10 times in a row, blown away, and I was convinced that the devil done come along in some form or another. The beast system done came along and handed this motherfucker this tune, because it's so catchy and every single syllable perfectly timed out, and him and his boys play it perfect in this video. Like the most perfect example of Devil Went Down to Georgia. So damn catchy, I listened to it 10 times in a row. I was like, no way did he come up with that. So who writes the song and decides to come along and hand it to this guy for him to play? And then I got to thinking about another song about the devil, Running with the Devil, that Van Halen got to play. There was the song that Van Halen played, Running with the Devil, that sounded different than all their other tunes, right? So it's almost like the beast system inserts itself into these bands and makes them play these certain tunes that mentions the devil. And then those certain tunes just so happen to be fucking mega hits. See what I'm saying? So this dude sold so many copies of Devil Went Down to Georgia. He was a millionaire because of that one tune, far more popular than anything else he ever did. So he could retire off that one tune. So imagine the devil comes along and says, I want you to sing this song right here, just like this, and I'm going to teach you how it goes. And you're going to sing this song. You're going to be a rich man. You ain't never going to have to work again. But you need to sing this song just right. You need to get it perfect. We're going to record the song. We're going to make a whole lot of fucking money. All you got to do right here, Charlie, sign on the dotted line. You're going to breathe some new life into this song about the devil. Right? So what if this technology... Now let me tie this all back to the flat earth again. Watch this. What if all this technology and all this AI we're using, what if these musicians and the beast system are getting to use this to make these perfect hit songs? And what if these hit songs were made a long time ago and tested out on people in other lands so that they know for sure that they work? Maybe there's certain songs that were tested on people in another land and they got such spectacular results, they decided to play those songs again here in our timeline for us. And we just think that these musicians are coming up with this shit. Well, maybe they ain't coming up with none of it. You ever try to sit around and write a song of your own? I ain't never heard anybody come up with a song that sounds like Devil Went Down to Georgia, that tells a perfect story of a fiddle playing a contest with the devil, where you beat the devil and you get to call him a son of a bitch. I've never met a person who's ever wrote anything like that or anywhere near like that and then performed it. So how in the fuck did Charlie Daniels do it? I think Devil Went Down to Georgia came from somewhere else. Ain't no way. See, so I can tie the music in these songs into the thought that perhaps these songs were created a long time ago by the beast system. And they're being reintroduced to us here and now. And I never had this thought before. None of this ever occurred to me, that perhaps AI was used on songs in the 80s or even before, and they were creating these perfect hit songs that they knew for sure were going to work. And all they needed was these certain entertainers to perform these songs. So again, what if these out of this world songs come from somewhere else, from a technology developed somewhere else? Because I don't know anybody who's capable of coming up with that shit. What do you guys think? Huh? What are your thoughts, y'all? Charismatic Fiend says Steven Tyler said he wrote Dream On at 16. Yeah, so I went back and I watched Aerosmith perform on the midnight special, Dream On, when Steven Tyler was really young and looked like a girl. And it was actually really good. That's the best version of Dream On. So if you want to see the best version of Dream On, check out Aerosmith on the midnight special. Now, Steven Tyler currently is a drug fiend who can't perform his songs like he used to. So the reason why Aerosmith cancels their tour every time they start trying to play again is because Steven Tyler can't pull off the songs for the entire set. His voice starts to give out, and he's a druggie who starts to lose it on stage in front of the crowd. And then the crowd starts to realize that Aerosmith can't play no more. And then it gets ugly and weird. So I've noticed that the last several performances from Aerosmith were very, very lackluster. So the last several times Steven Tyler tried to be Steven Tyler, he didn't do a very good job. But the best version of Dream On that I've seen, where Steven sings pretty damn solid, is the midnight special live performance. It's pretty good. All right. Am I on to something, y'all? Now, here's another thing. Let me switch it up and stop talking about the music for a second. You know how there's people who are like, it's the Jews, it's the Jesuits. Yeah, well, what if the power structure is 1,000 years advanced in some of these other areas? Do you really think it's the Jews, the Jesuits? You have no idea who's in control in some other world and the technology that they're bringing over here for us slaves. So there's a whole lot of people getting tricked into thinking they know who's in control. I say you don't know who's in control, because I don't know. And I'm the smart one here talking right now live about this. So I'm admitting I don't know who's really in control, man. So that's why when I hear people saying, it's the Jesuits, it's the Jews. How do you know who's in control in a land far away? How do you know? You don't know. So therefore, I'm not going to speculate who I think is in control in a land far away. I'm just going to state that I believe there is a land where the technology is far more advanced and the control structure there has made its way over here. And they don't want us to know about what goes on over there or what has already happened. So they got us living in an artificial timeline, being controlled electronically, stupefied by the music and movies that they choose for us. So I think there's a lot to unpack here. See? And it goes far beyond just their hiding land. See what I'm saying? So that's why I want to talk about their hiding land. The subject, the ramifications of the hidden land are far greater than we've ever talked about before. So that's why tonight I wanted to talk about the ramifications of all this land being hidden and why it would matter, and why I think for sure there's land hidden, a lot of land hidden, and why I think for sure that they developed a lot of this technology we're using a long time ago. They already perfected it. They know for sure it's going to work. NGA Brett says, under the Silver Lake. Under the Silver Lake. Is that like a channel or something? Or a song? Oh, it's a movie. Under the Silver Lake. All right, let me put on the trailer because you got me curious.
You ask me if To leave. How does that not make sense? I don't know you're poor and haven't paid your rent.
It means stay quiet. Our world is filled with codes. To Sarah.
I know this girl.
Really think you're gonna find a hidden message in a pop song? 1, 2, 3. Can't quite see it, but I'm close.
All right. I might have to go back and watch this. So I don't watch any movies or shows, and I know that it contains predictive programming and stuff that they could possibly do to us in the future. I just don't enjoy going and watching shows, but this looks like maybe it might be worth my time to go back and take a peek at.
How are you?
Mom, I'm fine. Mostly fine. Why do we assume that all of this information is what we're told it is? Maybe there are people out there who are more important than us, more powerful, communicating things in the world that are meant for only them and not for us.
Yeah.
Oh, you think that's weird?
All right. All right. So the trailer has me amused enough to think I should go back and watch this.
A little. Welcome to Purgatory.
Good to be here.
All right. All right. So that's something I'll have to write down so that I can remind myself to check that out. Under the Silver Lake. All right. All right. Thanks for the recommendation. You've piqued my curiosity with that one. And I don't usually go back and watch shows and movies to see the predictive programming. I'm the type of guy that'll just wait for whatever scripted event they're going to do and then dissect it, right? So, but this one, it seemed interesting. So I'll check it out. Doxological Thinker says, I think the Jays are a psyop for sure. Yeah, dude, they want you to sit around and go, fucking shit every day. The channels that do that, they don't accomplish jack shit. And they want me to do that. And they'll get mad at me for not sitting around and going, fucking shit. There's channels that literally do that in every video. Right? You go over to a BitChute or Rumble and hear some blowhard tell you all about the evil Jays every day. Just spout the same thing to you. Yeah, I believe it's a psyop as well. So if there's someone way more powerful than what we could even imagine is powerful here, if there's something far beyond that, yeah, I'm not going to point my finger at like an entire group of people like those blowhards like to do over on BitChute and Rumble, who I think those guys are shills mostly. So yeah, dude, they tried to get me to pull the J card, but I think that's what they want you to do. They want you to make yourself into that blowhard pointing at the Jays. So then they can say, look at this anti-Semite spouting off all this hate, right? And then they can censor you as well. So yeah, I'd rather just leave it as a question mark as to who or what is really in control. And anybody who disregards that and acts like they know for sure who's for sure in control, well, they're not really being honest with themselves because they don't know, right? So I'll come to the conclusion about stuff that I don't know, and I'll admit what I don't know. But there's a whole lot of people who like to act like fucking know-it-alls. And they'll even be here in my chat sometimes acting like they know all about it. They know all these answers, right? So I'm one of the few who will be honest and tell you, like, I don't know who's in control. Some of the stuff I talked about tonight, I couldn't tell you who's at the tippitiest of the tip top. In a land far away where they might be 100 years more advanced than us, I don't know who runs that shit. I'm not going to sit here and point at a group of people and be like, it's got to be them. Just in for the same reason, I'm not going to point at any fictitious landmass and say that that's where it comes from, right? Because I don't know what's out there. So another thing I wanted to show you guys tonight, let me get rid of this, tie it back to the flat Earth, was this right here. Boom. So as you guys can see, I took the AE map and then I took away the ice wall. And I left that little bit of ice down there below South America because I do believe there's a chunk of ice down there that they call Antarctica. But I don't know if we're surrounded by an ice wall. So I thought if we want to be honest with ourselves, we can just take a map like such as the AE map in this case that a lot of flat earthers believe in. And what if we just add question marks to it and say that, okay, we don't know what the land masses that are from us look like. So why not just start there and put question marks? So rather than me show you guys some land masses that I don't know exist, right? I'll just stick a question mark there and say, hey, I think for sure they're hiding land. I think they're hiding a lot. And I think they're bringing in technology from elsewhere. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know where this land is. I don't know how big it is. So that's why I'm putting the question marks there. So this is a diagram, like an honest diagram that, hey, this is the section of the world that we are being kept in, and we don't even know exactly what it looks like. So anything beyond this is a question mark, if we're being honest. So thinking that, okay, in this area of the world, it might be considered undeveloped to a civilization elsewhere that's 1,000 years more advanced or 500 years more advanced, right? So a civilization that's more advanced might look at this area of the world as underdeveloped or non-developed. And we might be going through the process of development. And through the process of development, they get people to believe in a fantasy world that you're living on a planet and that there used to be dinosaurs and there's only this finite amount of land and you're in outer space. So they get everybody in this area of the map to believe in an artificial timeline and an artificial reality. And once they've got the majority of everybody believing in that artificial timeline and artificial reality, they can slowly bring in the control mechanisms, the gadgets and gizmos. And then they can make us think that we're the ones who invented it. Yeah, man. We invented these phones because we wanted them so bad. We invented all these cell towers and we surrounded ourselves with all those cell towers because we love cell phones so much and we wanted them so bad. Right? We wanted those cell towers everywhere surrounding us, right? Isn't that what we wanted? Well, I would venture that them cell towers could and will be used as weapons one day, and they surround us for a good reason. And they probably already figured out how that technology works and invented it elsewhere. And through the process of developing this area of the map, they surrounded us with these weapons. So now, if we ever think about revolting against this power system that they have set up, they can flip a switch, hit a button, and take us all out at once. Probably. I mean, if the technology is old and came from somewhere else, then they probably dealt with a revolting population and stopped them dead in their tracks with this same tech or similar tech. So then they set it up in the new part of the world that they're currently developing. See? You guys following? All right, I read that one. Loose Sapphire. Bro, my thing that I've been noticing with you is you kind of act like you know everything and you're the smartest guy here. And every time I say anything, you either will agree and act like you came up with it and knew about it first, or you'll like say that like I'm wrong and that you for sure are totally right. So I'm kind of noticing this pattern with you. Maybe I could be wrong, but it seems like you try and take over the chat as the smartest dude in the chat who has everything figured out and has figured out everything for many, many years. So if that's the case, how come you don't have any fucking content explaining any of it? Shouldn't you be doing this right now? Shouldn't you be the one with 10 years of flat earth content to refer back to? But you aren't. You aren't. You didn't make any content as far as I know. So there's something about the way that you always try and take over this chat with whatever I'm talking about. Like you know more about everything than I do. And it's starting to get a bit annoying. So just letting you know, if you want to come on here live with me and have a face-to-face conversation about any of this stuff, we can do that. But as it stands, I'll bet you if I go to your channel, you don't have 10 years of content. Here's the deal. You're like the fourth or fifth guy to come along and pretend to be the smartest one here about everything. This has happened multiple times where somebody in the chat who hangs out here every week acts like they know everything. And they never admit they don't know anything. And they act like they're fucking experts on everything I'm talking about. And they'll disagree with me and then act like they know the answer for sure. And then I'll click on their channel and they won't have a goddamn video to watch. So maybe I'm wrong, bro. Maybe I got you all wrong. But if that's you and you're the guy who thinks you've got it all figured out, make a video and educate my dumbass. I'll show it to everyone. Like I noticed when I talked about the sun the other night, you knew all about that. You knew everything there was to know. And something about the way that you always know everything there is to know about whatever I'm talking about. It's kind of weird, dude. Bro, just chill out and go with the flow. The only reason I'm doing this right now is because I have seen you time and time again when I watch the replay acting like you're the one who knows more than everyone for sure. And I even saw Rumford ask you like why you don't have any content, and then you started making excuses. Like you figured out everything, but you have no clue how to go on camera and say it. So any man who don't go on camera and say how he feels about any of these subjects, who likes to act like he knows more than me for sure about everything, I don't know. After a while, it starts to rub me the wrong way. I'll tell you what, I'll post the link right now and you can come on here live, but you got to show your face and you got to tell me what your name is. And then you can explain anything you want. So if you want to go live with me, you got to show your face on camera and you got to tell me what your name is, because I know your name ain't Loose Sapphire. So if you want to talk to Jake Gibson, a real dude who uses his real name and real face, I would like to see your real face and hear what your name is. And then you can explain whatever you want to people. All right? All right. bro, you've been doing this for a long time now. So I'll shut up about it and we're going to move on. But just know that I see you acting like you know everything every week. And it bothers me a bit. So, just letting you know. All right. Moving on. Machine Wolf says, I love the hidden lands theory, but just wondering why they would have us as slaves. Like, what are they doing here that would benefit? Oh, dude, this is literally, why would they lie? I don't understand why anyone would lie about anything. Why would anyone lie to me? I'm me. There's no reason to lie to me. There's no reason why somebody who's rich and powerful would ever want to increase their wealth and power and own a bunch of slaves without the slaves knowing that they're fucking slaves. Yeah, there's no reason why any rich, powerful trillionaire would want to own a bunch of slaves without them knowing that they're slaves, tricking them into thinking that they're free men making their own decisions. Yeah, man, there's no reason why anyone would ever do that. There's literally no reason for a trillionaire to lie to you or me. Now, you know why I had to be a dick about it? Because I've had to answer why would they lie for 10 years. And every time I tell people a good reason why they would lie, they shrug it off and someone else comes along. Why would they lie about Earth being flat? I've had to answer that for 10 goddamn years. Why would they lie about Earth being flat? So now I'm to the point where I go, you know what? There is no reason. So just move along. Getting tired of telling people why people lie. People lie to get ahead. They lie to gain more money, more wealth, more power. They'll lie to get you to do what they want you to do. They'll lie to get you to be their fucking slave without you knowing they're your slave. So yeah, somebody who came up with the monetary system that us slaves are using, yeah, they don't want us to know how they came up with that or why they came up with that. So they're going to have plans in place to keep us from figuring that out. Now, I'm not trying to be a dick to you, to be mean to you. I've had to answer the why would they lie question for so many years. And there were times where I would give this well-detailed answer and people would go, ah. And they wouldn't fucking take into consideration the answer I give about why people lie. So I've had my answer that was well detailed and explained it perfectly. People just go, nah, that's not a good enough reason why people would lie. And they just shrug it off. So then I get to a point where I'm like, you're right. Nobody would ever lie to you. There's no reason to lie to anyone, huh? So let's just go on thinking that we're not being lied to. See? So hopefully you learn something here. There's every reason to lie, bro. Machine Wolf, there's every reason to lie. No reason to tell the slaves the truth. If they're developing this area of the map and then extracting the resources, using us as slave labor to extract the resources, the gold, the silver, the what have you, the loosh. Machine Wolf, have you ever seen the movie The Matrix? Well, what if the Matrix is actually a reality that exists in another land? And they're in the process of doing that to us here. Why would they do that? Well, maybe they're extracting the life force and the loosh from humans already, like in that movie, The Matrix. Maybe they're already doing that, like in the movie, The Matrix. And they're in the process of doing that here, but they got to develop the land and get the technology set up and get us slaves to submit and plug the fucking tubes and wires into our head. And once they get us to the right level and we have all the technology set up, we're going to be living in the movie The Matrix in pods with tubes and shit stuck to us, right? I mean, not us personally, because I'll die before I let them do that to me. But the movie The Matrix, you think that's just an idea that they fucking came up with? Maybe that really exists somewhere out there. And they're gonna do that to us here eventually in a number of years. So they show us in the movie what the Matrix is and what it looks like. People in these pods with tubes stealing their life force and loosh and whatnot. Yeah, well, they're in the process of setting all that up here. And they don't want you to figure that out and flip the fuck out. They don't want you to know that. So they show it to you through the movie and convince you that that's just a crazy movie that you saw. So Machine Wolf, I'm sorry, brother, that I had to be a bit of a dick there to explain this, but it's very important. What I'm talking about here is very important. And I've had people shrug off the why would they lie part over and over and over and over again, to where now it makes me angry when anyone says, why would they lie? To where I can't answer it like a regular person no more without flipping the fuck out. So thank you for the donation. And I sincerely hope that you learned why they would lie. I spent a lot of time explaining it. All right. Rapture Ready says, can we see Ralphie, please? Yes. There's Ralphs. Hey, Ralphie. Hi, bear. There's the bear. The Wolf bear. You a good boy, Ralphie. You a good boy. When we went over to Santa Cruz, I took him for a walk out on the beach a bunch of times, and he loves the beach. Oh, shit, my leg just cramped up. Fuck. Ow, ow. Oh. See, I took him to Santa Cruz, and everyone has dogs in Santa Cruz. There's like so many people walking their dogs all over town all the time. So he gets to smell all the dog smells and meet all the other dogs. And so he was in like dog paradise for like 3 days. The trip almost revolved around the dog. So I go to the beach to enjoy the weather and take some time away and get out of this office because I was going crazy. And I specifically went to also trip out and do some deep thinking. And so I planned to be in a very nice area where the weather's perfect and I get to walk around on the beach. And I strategically took some psychedelic mushrooms. And so a lot of what you're hearing tonight, I came up with over the few days I was in Santa Cruz, tripping my balls off. And the dog, yeah, he loved it. So I took some video of him running around on the beach too. I could maybe post it as like a members only video. RY wants Elmo goes off on Loose Sapphire.
Elmo is sick and tired of everyone acting like they know more about Sesame Street than Elmo. Loose Sapphire thinks that he knows more about Big Boy and Sesame Street than Elmo. Elmo is a motherfucking expert on Sesame Street, bitch. Elmo know more about Sesame Street than you ever know. Don't even try and act like you know more about Sesame Street than Elmo, or Elmo will bitch slap your ass.
There you go. And if Loose Sapphire's out there, I don't think Elmo's actually going to act on his threat. So I wouldn't take Elmo seriously. So Loose Sapphire, if you're out there, we're just having some fun, right? Doing a silly Elmo impression. So don't be worried about being attacked by Elmo. He's probably just kidding around. Frank Castle with a donation says, no one is lying to us. We're on a planet and we are just a byproduct of evolution. Move along now and get reincarnated like a good schmuck. I sense the sarcasm, but sadly that is the mindset of many an indoctrinated slave. Many a normie NPC feels exactly like this. They would laugh if they heard me talk about any of this. They would laugh at me. They would do that uncomfortable fake laugh. If I start talking about land being hidden and any fucking normies around that believes that they live on a planet and evolution, they would probably do that uncomfortable laugh. Right? You tell somebody that the earth is flat and they believe it's a globe, they'll oftentimes do this uncomfortable laugh at you, like they're putting you in your place and making you feel stupid by forcibly doing an uncomfortable laugh in your direction. Thank you, Frank Castle, for the sarcasm. At first, when I was reading your super chat, I was like, is this some globe cuck who came over here and sent me a super chat and is making me read this? But then by the time I got to the end, I realized you were being sarcastic and that you're not a globe cuck. Lobotomy 242 says, I know you not a shill because you could have made a model or comedian or musician, but you chose to do something meaningful. I do want bass solos occasionally now that I can spell bass. So here's the thing. I am a comedian. I'm currently a professional comedian. I just do it in a different way. So instead of doing stand-up where you repeat the same shit over and over again for strangers at a club, instead I do these streams. And so I'm like the only podcast comedian that does a 3-hour show by myself with no guests that can keep talking and keep people engaged on multiple different subjects. So I'm essentially like like the only real podcaster that can fill this amount of time like without being on the payroll, right? Without being told what to do or say. So there's really no one else even like me, right? As far as like what I do in its entirety. So I would argue I am a comedian and I still make people laugh week to week. In almost every stream, I do something to make people laugh. And so like tonight, I did some impressions and RY sent some money for me to do these silly impressions. And I'm sure out of all the people watching, at least some of you laughed and thought it was funny. So that's literally me being a professional comedian. A lot of guys who do open mics and they think that they're comedians, they think they're pros. Nobody pays them to do any of the bits, and they rarely ever make any money doing comedy. So there's plenty of open mic hacks who perform their shit for free for people who don't even want to hear it. But I get paid to do impressions. I get paid to do some of my most famous bits by you, my audience, directly. So you guys are proof of concept that I'm a real professional comedian because you guys are the ones who pay me. Right? So, I'm not getting paid by some comedy club manager, right? Whereas the comics who do stand-up, they have to hope that they sell enough tickets that the comedy club manager gives them a certain cut and whatnot, or they have to be an established comedian that tells these same jokes over and over and over and over again. Shit. So, yeah, man. I'm a professional comedian that doesn't have to repeat the same hack jokes for strangers every night. And I would argue when I pull my head out of my ass and I teach myself how to record myself real good, that I can give you guys some new music that could possibly blow your mind. So one of the things I need to do is record myself and record new music, and I've slacked on that. So one of these days, I'm going to pull my head out of my ass and I'm going to spend weeks, months, whatever it takes to finally crank out some new music for you guys. So yeah, I'm still a musician. I am still a comedian, and I will still do bass solos occasionally. So all those things are going to continue. And I have aspirations to get better at all those things. So I'm not happy with what I'm not content with what I've already done. I feel like I can improve upon all of it. I could improve these streams. I could create some new music if I just learn how to record myself a little better. I could improve some of my comedy bits if I go back and I look at the ones that worked and I work them out even better. So there's a lot of different things I can do to improve what I'm already doing. And so you haven't seen the absolute best of me yet. And I think that the best is still yet to come. And one of these days, I'm going to blow you guys away with either a new song or a new comedy bit that you weren't expecting. So that's the thing about this channel, is you never really know what I'm going to do next. You never really know for sure what I'm going to do or say next. I'm glad you know I'm not a shill. You know, one of the things that bothers me is when people make incorrect assumptions about me and say that I'm a shill. Like there's people who will show up in the comments section, and it's not just bots and other shills who say this, but sometimes people will show up and they'll make assumptions about me. Like, oh, you have 90,000 subs. That means for sure you're a shill. And I'll be like, dude, it took me 10 years to get that many subs, and I had to do it by talking about so many different fucking things. And a lot of the subs that subscribed a long time ago, some of them like don't even watch no more. So it's just like a number on the screen. So I have people who've called me a shill over my sub count. Like, dude, if I amassed 90K subs over 10 years, like that's not like proof that I'm for sure in the big club. Now, if I had 5-6 million subs and I was doing a incognito earbud commercial in every video and trying to get you guys to download fucking gambling apps, oh, well, then you would know for sure that I'm a gigantic shill on the big payroll. So I would argue that like anyone who's ever tried to call me a shill, none of them have ever come up with any good evidence, because there isn't any, because I'm not. So anyone who's ever tried to call me a shill, they have nothing but incorrect assumptions. Got a donation from, oh yeah, I read that one. I think I'm all caught up on the super chats. All right. I pretty much got through the stuff I wanted to talk about tonight, and I figure I can talk more about this, you know, if you guys like this sort of thing. So what do you guys think? Do you guys like this hidden land idea? Do you guys like this subject tonight? Yes, so tonight I did a lot of riffing. That's why I was ranting and rambling a lot tonight. And so because of that, I haven't got to read that much of what's going on in the chat. But I'm going to go back and watch the replay, and I'll see what you guys said here. So it'll be interesting to see if any shill channels start trying to co-opt what I'm talking about. So if by tomorrow or the next day you see some other channel talking about, well, I think that the technology that we're using came from a hidden land. This is something new that I just thought of, right? So if anyone you see starts to like heavily push what I talked about here tonight, all of the sudden, that might mean that they are being told to come along and co-opt this conversation. So it'll be interesting to see if any of the known shills decide to come along and grasp onto this. Because when I start talking about the Earth not being a globe, there tends to be some weirdos who come out of the woodwork and try and either undermine me or take what I'm talking about it and discredit it by adding a bunch of bullshit. WFTL says, great stream, brother. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I was like wondering exactly how I'm going to be able to explain all this shit. So I just figured I'd just ramble on and do my best. And that if I do this a few times, I'll eventually figure out the best way to explain it. So, yeah. Some of my most recent thoughts and revelations. It totally changed the way that I look at this area of the map that we're in, and totally look at the technology we're using differently now that I started thinking about the possibility of all this already being invented and already happening elsewhere many years ago, and that we're just reliving an old history that's being manufactured artificially. Yeah, man, mind-blowing shit. Well, to some at least. Truth Hurts has been here since 3:10 p.m. Badass stream tonight. Awesome. Mike Moscow Mike Moskinafloss says, I'm so glad Fittest Flat Earther didn't take you out yet. So that guy's whole gimmick is to discredit the talk about hyper-realistic masks and disguises. And he does so by saying that shapeshifters and fallen angels are magically shape-shifting. So literally he discredits all the talk about celebrities playing multiple roles and using disguises and hyper-realistic masks being used to dupe the public, not just by actors, but also by politicians. He basically discredits the whole topic and makes it sound like some retarded conspiracy theory by injecting the fallen angel shape-shifting shit. So now if you say like, oh, I think that the Trump that was on TV last night was like AI or like using some sort of hyper-realistic mask, they'll be like, oh, you're like that shapeshifter fallen angel guy. Pfft, crazy weirdo. Yeah. See? So now if I have a very real concern about someone using a hyper-realistic mask, now I'm looked at like the fallen angel shapeshifter guy. Oh, you're like that shapeshifter fallen angel loser who thinks that that Patrick Mahomes is Darlene from Roseanne. So that's his whole job, is to make it look like anyone talking about celebrities being replaced or playing multiple roles, anyone bringing that up, they're crazy weirdos who believe in fallen angels and shapeshifting. All right. Glad to hear you guys enjoyed the stream tonight. And Sunblown says the rockets never break through the firmament. Well, now you have to consider that the firmament doesn't just go over the AE map. Now you have to consider the firmament is a lot longer, bigger, what have you. So if there is a firmament, it isn't just over us on the AE map. I think that if there's other land masses out there and other people able to get over here, then the notion of the firmament just being this little half dome encompassing the area that we're shown on the AE map, that's like another control mechanism for your mind to make you think that like you're under this dome and that's all there is. It's just now it's like you're on a half globe, right? So instead of being on a globe, if they can convince you you're inside of a dome on the AE map and that's all there is, now they got you in like inside of half of a globe. Either way, they got you controlled, believing that there's only this finite amount of land. So I'm throwing out the notion that there's a dome all the way over us, over just the AE map / ice wall. So in order for what I'm talking about to be true, there has to be more land masses that you can get to without running into a wall or firmament. And so that would mean that the firmament must have to be much, much bigger. Or perhaps there's a ceiling, but maybe the walls of the firmament are way farther out than we know. Maybe there isn't any walls. Maybe there's a ceiling, but no walls. Is that possible? A ceiling, but no walls? So that's another question mark. So none of us have been to the firmament. None of us have video of us knocking on the firmament wall, right? None of us have video of us pulling a Truman and being like, here, I found the actual firmament. Look, it's right here, right? So the firmament hasn't been proven to my satisfaction yet, but I'm open to there being possibly a roof or dome of some kind. Oh yeah, I read that one. Rapture Ready says, okay, Jake, I only request this twice a year, but please tell the funniest story ever told. Hello Kitty. You really want to hear about the time I went on a date with a girl and she wanted a Hello Kitty coffee maker and I told her no. And then she immediately wanted the date to end. You really want to hear that? All right. Well, if you say so. So there was a girl who lived in the same area as me, and she was friends with other mutual friends that I knew on social media. And she at one point like dated this other guitar player guy that used to play in bands at some of the same venues I used to play at in Modesto. And so through like the music scene, there was this girl who I was friends with on social media. And at one point she reached out and she told me that she thought I was good looking or something. At one point she like reached out and started talking. And so I thought, hey, well, you know, you're cute. We know each other. You seem like you're into me. So, hey, let's get together and go on a date. So we go on our first date. We meet up at a restaurant. God, I want to say it was like, fuck, I can't remember off the top of my head the restaurant the first time we hung out. Anyway, so the first time we met up, the date went fairly well. We had some good conversation and it just seemed like it was going decent. And once we left dinner, God, I want to say it was like a restaurant in the mall parking lot. No, excuse me. It was a restaurant near a Target. So it was like we walked around after we ate dinner. We went and walked around Target, and she found this like these pants, a bargain pair of pants on like the clearance rack. And then she was like, "Oh, I want to try these on." So she tries on these pants, and she comes out like turns around and shows off her ass. She's like, how does these pants look? I'm like, oh yeah, they look good. And then she goes, do you want to buy these for me? They're on sale. And they were only like $10. Like they were clearance rack. And so I thought it was a bit of a red flag that she was asking me to buy her this pair of pants, but I paid for the dinner and she seemed like she was into me. It seemed like things were going well. And so I thought, all right, well, maybe she's just really poor and she just really wants these pants. And if this is heading towards, us having fun together or whatever, then I guess I could buy this $10 pair of pants. So I buy her the $10 pair of pants. She thanks me and the date ends, but like nothing happens, right? So there's no there wasn't any physical stuff that happened on the first date. It was just like we went and ate, conversation seemed to go well, and then we walked around Target afterwards and I bought her some pants. She seemed like she was into it. She said she wanted to hang out again. So I was like, okay, maybe she's one of those girls that she won't do anything at all physical wise, for the first few dates. And that's to be expected from some women. So I was cool with nothing happening physical wise on the first date. So then we set up a second date, and the second date we ate at a restaurant called BJ's. And it was in the mall parking lot in Modesto. So they still have a mall, like an old school mall that people still go to and walk around with all the stupid mall shops. And we ate at this restaurant outside the mall, in the same parking lot called BJ's. And this time she's not as talkative, but dinner still went okay. And of course I paid for the dinner. And then she wanted to go walk around. Oh yeah, she was 30 minutes late. Almost forgot. She showed up 30 minutes late to dinner the second time. Wasn't as talkative. And then when dinner ended, she wanted to go walk around in the mall. And so she told me that the reason she was late for dinner was that she was returning some stuff to a shop at the mall. And there was a line and she got held up. So I was kind of thinking, oh, that's a bit of a red flag. You leave me waiting for 30 minutes while you return some shit at the mall. So we're walking around inside the mall, and then we go inside one of these gift shops. These gift shops that have all sorts of stupid shit. What are they called? A Hot Topics kind of place. It was like one of those Hot Topics kind of gift shop places. And they had some Hello Kitty merchandise. And she started looking at this Hello Kitty merchandise. And then she picks up this Hello Kitty coffee maker. And she goes, you want to buy this for me? And automatically in my head, I'm like, oh God, how much is this? So I ask her, how much is that? And she shows me the price tag. It was $69.99, $70 plus tax for a Hello Kitty coffee maker. A coffee maker with the fucking cat logo, basically, right? There's a regular ass, stupid, shitty coffee maker, but it has the Hello Kitty logo. So, and it's in Hot Topic in the mall. So it's worth $70 apparently. So automatically in my head, I'm like, I don't want to buy this. And I'm already thinking, yeah, I'm going to tell her no. I wonder how she's going to handle this. So I go, yeah, if you want that, that's something that you can buy for yourself. And she goes, ah, and she puts it down. She's like, ah, you just embarrassed me in front of everybody. And then she was irritated, and I could tell she wanted the date to end. So I tried to calmly explain, I don't want this to turn into every time we hang out that you just expect a gift from me. This is only the second date and you want a coffee maker. And then she was like, yeah, I just thought that you had money. And I didn't realize that you were one of those type of guys that expects a woman to pay. So then she tried to guilt trip me. You embarrassed me. I didn't know you were one of those broke guys who doesn't pay for a woman. I thought that like you were one of those guys that, you know, like actually wants to take care of a woman. So she basically guilt tripped me, and that was the end of the date. And then as I walked away, I remember like, if I only just told her no the first time when she asked for the pants, I could have skipped the second date, right? So the good news is I didn't buy the Hello Kitty coffee maker. That was the end of that date. Never saw her, never heard from her again to this day. So I paid for 2 dinners and some clearance rack pants. So it's a learning lesson. So I'm glad that I found out that if I say no, that's immediately when the date's going to end. So I wish I would have done that on date 1, you know, or I wish I just would have figured her out that she was that type of gold digging bitch with some dude that she just met. If I'd have known that she was that much of like a fucking broke ass gold digger bitch that she expects a dude to buy a healthy maker on a second date without doing anything. If I'd have known that, yeah, I'd have totally not have wasted my time. But so, yeah, there you go. Some people think that that's the funniest story ever told because some girl wanted me to buy her a Hello Kitty coffee maker. And I said no. And then she instantly didn't like me anymore. So, yeah, some people think that that's so hilarious. But yeah, that's a true story. That happened to me. One of the last dates that I went on. RY says, thank you for the impressions, Jake. You're welcome, brother. I know it's your favorite thing to have me do all those impressions. And so hopefully I came through for you tonight and pulled off most of them decent enough for you. Art Hawk 333. You got to watch out, Art Hawk. By you including 333, people are going to think that you're some sort of Illuminati Masonic agent of sorts. Art Hawk says, love your channel. Thanks for being Jake the Awake and Ralphie. Oh, you're welcome for me being Jake the Awake and Ralphie. Thank you, Art Hawk, for the generous donation, brother. I'm glad you enjoy the channel. Davey D. LaFleur from the LaFleur Network says, great stream tonight. Keep up this work. Did you keep up this work? Strong video you did about Tyler Hansen. I had to play it on the layer, created a shorter version of it. I actually checked it out, bro. So I didn't comment, but I watched it and I gave you a thumbs up. I saw on my phone that you used a clip that I made of Tyler. So yeah, I checked it out on my phone and I hooked you up with a thumbs up. So one of the views and thumbs up came from me. The only thing is because it was a stream and my streams are like not the highest of quality. When you re-uploaded my stream, it like degraded the quality even more. So that was the only thing that like sucks about using my streams is that the quality is not the best because it's a live stream. So then when you like re-upload it, it like compresses it and makes it even more shitty. So the quality, it wasn't the best, but that's not your fault. You can't really do anything about that. Doxological Thinker says, by the way, thank you for not giving in to all the pressure to make videos on the World Cup. Big respect for not talking about it just because it's popular. I said over and over and over again, I never watched a World Cup soccer game in my life. I haven't watched a minute of any of these World Cup games. If I tried to break down, stop, just wait. If I tried to break down the scripted soccer games, I would sound like a guy who doesn't know shit about soccer because I really don't. I know that the object of the game is to kick the ball into the goal. But I don't know all the nuances of all the rules between World Cup play and the other leagues that exist. So being as I was never a fan of soccer, and like when I was a kid, like I only played it when I was a really little kid in grade school. Like, yeah, I would I wouldn't be the right guy. So it would essentially just be me saying, the Argentina guy kicked it to the Spain guy on purpose, and then they let the Spain guy score a goal on purpose because it's scripted. That's what it would have ended up being. I don't know any of the players' names. So the best you would have gotten is me saying, they let this Argentina dude score a goal. The Spain player right here, they totally could have got the ball from him, but they purposely let him score because it's scripted. So it would have sucked. It wouldn't have been that exciting if I would have made that video. So yeah. So enough people wanted me to do the UFC that, and when I watched the fight, the Conor McGregor scripted injury, like the whole time I'm like, oh yeah, I could totally break this down. I think I could get some views and I could fucking make fun of this and I could get some. So the UFC, like I used to be a fan years ago and I've been in some street fights. So I kind of know, and I've trained in boxing and amateur wrestling. So I kind of have a bit of a background in fighting and in combat sports. And so I recently did my first UFC video and that one did well. And so I got really good feedback on it and a lot of engagement. The video made money. So they allowed me to call the UFC fake and break down the footage and let me make money on it and gain new subs. So I'd be a fool not to continue doing that. So I'll definitely be doing some UFC breakdowns, more of them in the future, because that first video did pretty damn well. Now, I know that the next UFC fight's probably not going to be as big as the Conor McGregor fight, but there was enough people who watched that last UFC breakdown that it seems like it's going to be like a new popular form of content that I do. So yeah, there's something to look forward there too. If you enjoyed the UFC breakdown that I did, I plan on doing more of those. Like each month I can cover the big pay-per-view, and whatever fight is the most fake or phony, I can break that fight down for you guys, right? Or do a breakdown of a whole entire pay-per-view event if it calls for it. But yeah, soccer, nah, just not going to do it. Rapture Ready says, second funniest thing, Elmo Grover fur, please. All right, you want the Elmo Grover video? That's in my members only catalog, but I'll go ahead and break it out for everybody right here, right now. The second funniest thing in the world, according to this guy.
When you know that the whole world is scripted, like I do, then you can see right through these puppets. See this guy right here? Looks an awful lot like this guy right here. They're the same puppet. They're shapeshifters. They're vampires. So clearly you can see the symmetry between this puppet right here and this puppet right here. And obviously, in a side-by-side comparison, it's not too hard to tell. These are the same puppet. Now, if you're going to want to see some proof that you can hang your hat on, look no further than right here. This little piece of fur, an exact match for this piece of fur. Proof that Elmo is Grover. They're the same puppet. And of course, this is just for entertainment purposes only. I don't really believe any of this. Or do I?
All right, there you go. It automatically played Chinatown by Thin Lizzy. I actually watched that. See, so YouTube's trying to recommend a lot of these live performances and starting to autoplay some of these live shows that I already watch. They're like, we know what you want to watch next. Thin Lizzy on the Midnight Special. Here you go. Like, no, that's not exactly what I wanted to watch next. But thank you for choosing that for me and assuming that that's what I wanted to watch next, YouTube. That's what happens if you watch a shitload of live shows. Then YouTube just starts like recommending you like all this live performances from a long time ago, which I actually like. It's actually one of the better uses of the algorithm. All right. So I'm getting tired. Been on here for 3 hours. I rambled and rambled and rambled to the point where now I'm feeling like I need to eat some food and take my dog out for a walk and chill out now. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream tonight. Rapture Ready says, ha 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 ha. Man, you're great. Thank you. You're welcome, sir. Glad you enjoyed it. I hope you were satisfied with that. And if anyone wants to go back and watch that at their leisure, all you got to do is become a member for $2 a month. And you can watch Elmo is Grover, Fittest Flat Earther parody at your leisure whenever you want. And you never know when my next Fittest Flat Earther parody is going to be uploaded. So if you're a member, you're going to get to be the first one to see it before everyone else. James, who's Javid. So Javid here says Bryce Mitchell and Rampage are flat earthers in the UFC. These gold digging behavior is so common, bro. This is how girls approach dating now. I know, man, there's no shortage of dudes who talk about how all women just want a free meal and just want to, be hoes and sluts until they're all used up in their 40s. And then suddenly they want to act like they want to be a trad wife once they're all used up and have a body count over 100. Then they suddenly want to have a family. Yeah. So, yeah, bro, there's no shortage of guys talking about how women ruin dating here on YouTube. And all they do is talk about how women ruin the whole thing by making us feel like losers and creeps whenever we would approach. So it used to be dudes would approach women and, hit on them. And if a woman thought a guy was cute or appreciated the pickup line, that they would agree to go on a date and hang out and then fuck and then create a child. That's kind of how it used to go. But now it's like all that's gone. So yeah, girls now can like swipe between 10,000 dudes and try and pick the most chadliest Chad, right? And then they'll use the average guys that they feel are inferior for free meals and free shit. Yeah, I know. That's why I don't date no more. So yeah, I don't date anymore. I'm like one of those men gone your own way type guys, except I don't make videos about it and complain about it because there's too many guys doing that. So there's too many guys making content complaining about how dating sucks and how it was ruined by women. So that's why you don't hear me talking about that or making content about it, because there's already people doing that and it's depressing. And it's just a bunch of dudes who just cry and whine over and over again in every video about how dating's ruined. So I tend to agree, but I try and ignore it and find happiness and positivity through making content for you guys and doing these streams. And I just try and ignore the fact that I don't go on dates or ever hang out with anyone. Don't ever get laid anymore. And that I'm a total loner. Yeah, I just try and ignore that and just have as much fun as I can doing this. And it seems to be working. Kelly says, so does this mean RY is Art Hawk 333? I don't know. You'll have to ask them. I have no idea who's who. All right. Okay, I need to wrap it up. I can feel myself getting tired. And once I start getting tired, then I stop being funny and entertaining. So I think I need to go out on a high note here and say that you guys were awesome tonight. I had a great time here, and I look forward to watching the replay and seeing all the messages that I missed. So yeah, if I didn't pull up your message here, when I watch the replay, I'm going to read everyone's message. So I'll see who was here and who said what. So thank you guys for being here and participating in the chat. And extra big special thank yous to everyone who donated tonight. The support was off the hook tonight, as per usual. So you guys really showed up in force tonight. We had a solid crowd here and lots of support on the super chat. So I can't thank you guys enough. So we made it through another wacky Wake 'em Up Wednesday. And you know what? I might do a stream on Saturday and rant more about this. So if I can have a few more revelations and come up with a few more things to talk about, maybe we'll do this again Saturday. I want to try and stream more than just once a week. So if I can try and stream twice a week, that would probably be better. And I know that there's people who will watch on Saturdays who can't watch on Wednesday nights. So I think if I can come up with a few more ideas to rant and ramble about on Saturday, I'll try and do this again for you guys. So perhaps I'll see you then. So until the next time I see you in the next video or the next live stream, I want to thank each and every one of you one last time. And thank you to all my mods who are here tonight. I saw Rose and Jonna and Holden here. So thank you guys all for hanging out with me tonight. Art Hawk and Truth Hurts and Davey D. LaFleur, Kelly Yamaguchi, and even Loose Sapphire, who I maybe butted heads with for a little bit. I'm glad you were here tonight as well, sir. I'm glad all y'all was here tonight. So thank you guys, each and every one of you. So with that said, I'm going to get off here. You guys have a wonderful night. And we'll see you next time. All right. So peace out. Much love. Good night and bye-bye.